Welcome back, David. We are especially excited today as to how the story will continue after the last information you presented.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. And I'll get straight to the point. Yes, this is going to shock people, and there'll be people on both sides. Yes, and they'll have to do the research themselves. There's no point in screaming, ah! Yes, but what do you call it? Yes, Palestine does not exist. Okay. Yes, okay, I'm going to get straight down to it because some people are going to say, what the hell? What do you mean Palestine doesn't exist? Free, free Palestine, free, free Palestine, free, free Palestine, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to give the introduction straight away so that people can go and check themselves. But the details, I'll give you them in a minute. Palestine actually is in Poland. Yes, it's in Europe. It's actually named after Polish Stein. Yes, and the name Stein or Stan, yes, actually comes from like we got Western or Sweden, and we got Eastern or Estonia. That's Estonia, and Ton comes from the word Eden. Yes, garden. Yes. And in the Middle East, especially, they have places like Uzbekistan. Yes, Stan or Tan, or in England, we got Lantan. Dan comes from the word Garden of Eden. Yes, somebody's beautiful place. So Polish Stan, Palestine. Palestine is in Poland, guys. Where is the proof? I'm going to go through it right now, and people are going to be surprised. Yes, the first thing is everyone turns around and says the British took over Palestine from the Turks. That's what they tell you, the Ottoman Turks. But when we have a look at the, in the Middle East, there was war going on. Yes. Here we have, what do you call it? Yes. From Germany, we have Colonel Wilhelm Leopold Kolmar Freiherr von der Goltz. Yes. And he was Goltz Pasha. Yes. Ottoman German commander in World War I, fighting the British. Of course, they've falsified his history, and they wrote he died on the 19th of April. His father spent 19 years in the Prussian army. Yes, they falsified the history so that we can't find the true history, so that people will think that the Germans and the Turks were two separate entities. Yes, they were part of the same empire, but they split up. Yeah, so when we check through his history, what we find is that this colonel from Germany, he was serving for the Prussian forces, an invented name like Prussia. You know, one day they call it United States, one day they call it the Americans, one day they say the English, one day they say the British, one day they say the UK. He was colonel of Prussia for the Prussians, for the Germans, and the Ottoman. Yes, and he was a pasha. Yes, an Ottoman pasha from the Middle East. Well, from so now let me get straight to the point. Poland. Yes, what do you call it? Right now, we have in the Middle East what they call Palestine or Israel. We have Jewish military forces there, or a military union. That took place in 1948, that formed, and after that it developed into the Israeli Defense Forces. That's one, and Mossad another. There was other groups before. You have to read my books to understand, the Irgun and the Haganah. Yes, there was a Jewish military union in Europe. Yes, in Poland, in Polish Stein, Polish. Yes, and what do you call it? Yes, and it was formed. They will say it was formed in 1939. Yes, but the thing is, the Jewish army was already in Palestine or Polishstein. It was already in Poland. Yes, what was it doing in Poland? Poland was, they were Polish, so therefore they were Polishstein. Yes, Palestinians. They were Palestinians. This is where the name Palestinians comes from, or Palestine. And today, the Arabs have been given this name. It is not their name or anything. I'm going to go through the proof. Yes, that there is no such evidence whatsoever of a Palestine or anything existing. And then what do you call it? There's going to be many history, and many people will turn and say, hey, what do you call it? Yes, there were Jews in the Polish army, and it was a separate army. They falsified the history of World War II. Like, for example, they'll turn and say there was over 100,000 Jews, but this is during the wartime we're talking about. Imagine if the Third World War or Armageddon, the Third World War takes place, then what do you call it? Yes, and the Americans fight in the Middle East, then people will turn and say, hey, there was the Israelis joined the Americans and etc. And they'll turn around and say, hey, there's thousands of Jews in the army. Yes. So what is going on in World War One? That Germany is fighting against the German Ottoman are fighting against the British in the Middle East. Yes. What is going on? Yes. So what do you call it? Yes. We are turned around. We are told today that what do you call it? There was ghettos in Europe. Yes. In Poland and in Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe. Yes. For example, Warsaw Ghetto, in Krakow, Krakow and other things. And there was Jewish military organizations, yes, or the Jewish army. Right now, we're told that the settlements in Palestine, yes, it doesn't matter if it's on the Palestinian side or the Israeli side, whichever side of the border, people are staying separate. Yes. So what do you call it? Yes. What do you call it? Yes, and we're told if you went to Israel or to the settlement, there's Jewish military and Jewish Israeli police officers. We see a similar thing in Palestine or in Poland. Yes, Jewish policemen guarded inside the walls, etc. Yes, and outside on the other side, it's not about outside or inside. There's Warsaw and there's other settlements, Jewish settlements in Poland. Yes, or in Palestine. Yes, and what do you call it? On the other side, there's what do you call it? The Germans or the Polish or whatever patrolling. And then when we look at the Middle East on the other side, there's the Jordanians, the patrolling on the other side of the West Bank or the Palestinian Authority. Yes, and then we've got the Egyptians patrolling on the other side of Gaza. And then on the other side, we've got the Lebanese patrolling on the other side of the Golan Heights, etc. So now this is very important, because if you don't understand what happened in Poland or Palestine, you will not understand what is happening in Palestine today. Yes, and where the name actually came from. Yes, so everybody knows that there was a war going on in World War II. For example, the Warsaw Ghetto, many people know about it. And the thing is, if you want more details about what was happening, yes, in Poland, yes, then you'll have to read my books about that for the exact details. Now, I have noticed there are some comments, I call them ridiculous and stupid, saying, what do you call it? Yes, David's pointing out the number 19 and events in Israel and Palestine and saying they're not relevant. And the thing is, it's because I call it pathetic, because the thing is, people have been protesting about Palestine and Israel for 100 years. Nothing's changed. So it shows the results. Yes, nothing has changed with the agenda or the plan. Now, if people don't know the history, then they can just carry on going shouting on the streets, I stand with Israel, I stand with Israel, free, free Palestine, free, free Palestine, and just shouting each other's heads off like football fans. Yes, and it doesn't get anywhere. Yes, unless if you understand the history, and it's not about the numbers, it shows it's a plan. And the thing is, there's some idiots who haven't read my books or who haven't investigated things. I'm calling them idiots because it's not a joke. People are getting hurt on both sides, and it could turn into World War III. So it's not a joke. Yes, I like my lifestyle. I don't want to see anything going wrong in Europe. I live in Europe. Yes, I don't want an Armageddon to start in the Middle East and it will spread. Yes, nobody does. Yes, so the thing is, if we really understand the history, then we'll understand more. Yes, so the thing is, some people have said, hey, we know some of these events happened. What do you mean you know these events happened? Just because the television and the newspaper said it, and you're seeing some actors, Mahmoud Abbas, yes, Itzhak Rabin, and all these people going to meetings, etc., etc. They're just actors. Yes, if you look at it more and look at the numerical patterns, then you can see they've chosen specific dates, specific locations, and everything. It's to do with astrology. And then specifically Muslims commented, yeah, don't they read their own Quran where it says that the unbelievers or the people who don't believe, yeah, are looking for signs in the stars and something to do with jinns or geniuses that are going to trying to hear from the assembly to steal information. Yes, and the astrological stars, the way they're set out based on the number 19, it's a very important thing. It's not a joke. Yes, and our clock is based on the flower of life, 60 minutes, all these things. Yes, and does not the Quran even say, hey, we put amongst the signs of God, you know, are what you see around you and what is created, and it's there for your benefit and to use for time and for other things. That's how we invented the clock. Yes, the clock is based on the number 19, by the way, in case anybody's going to say, really? Yeah, read my books and then you'll know. Yes, and the current clock we've got. Well, anyway, then there's more. So in many Jewish settlements or ghettos, you want to call them, in Europe, they had their own currency. Oh, same like in Israeli settlements today, they have their own currency. Yes, what do you call it? Yes, but here, of course, they're giving their opinion and saying we think this was done to make the false sense of normalcy. So now tomorrow, if Israel does not exist, let's say a war starts and people get hurt. Yes, and then what do you call it? Then the Muslims and the Arabs are, of course, going to say, "Hey, what do you call it? Yes, the Israeli government gave out the shekel to give a false sense of normalcy. Yes, when that was not the currency of the region, and they came from Europe. Yes, from Poland especially. Yes, Polish time. Yes." So the thing is, you know, the way the historians report it, that's an opinion. Yes, there was a currency there. Yes, they had currencies, same like there's currencies in Lebanon and all these things. Yes, for a false sense of normalcy. So now, next thing, Poland became, look at this, Poland became the shelter for Jews persecuted and expelled from various European countries. The world's largest Jewish community, they say, by the 17th century. Yes, but the thing is, if anybody has not read my books, they will not be able to figure out a bit of a timeline. Yes, but from in my book, this is a very important book. Yes, because it's got to do with the French. What did the French have to do with Palestine and Poland? Yes, same today with the British and the French and the Sykes-Picot Agreement, or the Picot-Sykes Agreement of dividing the Middle East. Yes, so if you don't read the details, it's not my problem. Yes, the thing is, we can see that they've repeated the history of Napoleon from in the 1780s, there's one Napoleon. Then in the 1880s, there's another Napoleon. Yes, it's like there's 100-year repeat. So we can take off 100 years, yes, of false history. So it looks like it's not the 17th century, but the 18th century, that mysteriously many Jewish people turn up in Poland and they're being persecuted. They've suddenly appeared in Europe in the 18th century, and they're in Poland. Yes. So I've sent you one. So there it says in the 17th century on that one. But the thing is, because historians are liars, when we read it here, they say Poland was the largest and most significant Ashkenazi Jewish community, European Jews. Yes, center of the Jewish people. And it says it's ended after the partitions of Poland in the 18th century. For some reason, yes, the European neighbors invaded this place and they separated or got rid of it. Yes, something was wrong with Poland. Yes, same like today, all the neighbors, Turkey, Iran, Syria, Egypt, wherever you go, everybody seems to want to, remove Israel. Something is wrong. Yes, something is wrong. Yes, and then many people will talk about it. And the thing is, many people think, hey, the Palestinians today, these Arabs are actually Palestinians. No, they're not. Yes, the name was invented from the name Palestine. Yes, because Poland or Polish Yes, they became known as the Jews of Europe, and they were the ones who went to the Middle East and they took the name with them, Palestine,
Hmm.
Polish-Stein, like what do you call it? Yes, Uzbekistan. Yes, what do you call it? Pakistan, Pakistan. Yes, it's just the pronunciation. So what do you call it? Yes, many people will comment and say it was the Zionists who call it Palestine. Yes, it was the Zionists, whoever they were. The history of Zionism is a lie. Yes, but if anybody thinks it's because they were living in Polish-Stein, yes, the Eden of the Polish time, when they moved, they took the name with them. You see? Yes. So they took the name. Can you see this,
Right.
Raphael?
Yes. Hmm.
Yes. So now let me show you an example. What do you call it? Yes. Um, so here today we've got what do you call it? Yes, an activist, um, an Arab activist. Yes. In what they call Israel or Palestine. Yes, they're going to call her a Palestinian. Even they have started saying we're Palestinians, but they're not. They're actually just local people. You can call them Arabs or you could call them Ottoman. Yes, but I will give you their correct name. Please just wait. Bear with me. So this information is not hidden. People can find what do you call it? Yes, the Jews had their own government there in Poland or in Polish time. Yes, people will. Today, historians call it autonomy because the historians did not recognize the existence of the Jewish people in Poland. Yes, so in the future, the Muslims want to remove Israel because it's causing so many problems. So one day the Muslims will turn around and say, no, the Jews were there as occupiers. They had their own autonomy. It was our land. That's what the Muslims say. It's our land. We've lived here for centuries. That's what the Arabs say. Yes or no, Raphael? Yes?
Indeed. Yes. Hmm.
Yes. So of course, when they write the history, yes, one day they're going to say, "Hey, they had their autonomy, their self-government, yes, in Israel, and they called it Israel." Yes. So Israel is self-governing. Yes, and what do you call it? So now, when we come to the Balfour Declaration, yes, even that history is a forgery, and everything. We will see the involvement of the British and the French. Yes. So what do you call it? Yes. So they keep talking about a Jewish state. Yes, that the Jewish state was to be created in Polish time, Poland. Yes. So was this actually referring to the Middle East, or was it referring to Poland? Or has that document been forged? Was this Balfour Declaration something earlier, even in the 1850s and 60s, to create an independent Jewish state in Poland? That's why it was called Polishstein. Yes? And what do you call it? The reason why the Israelis are a minority in the Middle East, there's a billion Muslims surrounding them. So what do you call it? The Jews could not make their own proper state on Polish territory. Yes, nor could they unite. Same like in Arab territory in the Middle East, Israel is still not a proper state. It's because it doesn't control the West Bank fully. It doesn't control the Gazans. East Jerusalem, the people have refused to recognize Israel. They've refused Israeli passports and many things. So the thing is, historians to this day, they call it an autonomous state. It's just a fake word, autonomy or self-governing. Yes, isn't that what Israel is? It's self-governing. Yes. So what do you call it? Yes, many people will turn around and say there were Jewish settlements in Poland. We hear the same thing. Jewish settlements in the Middle East, what they call Palestine today. Yes, and there was migration, more and more Jewish people coming. Yes, what do you call it, to this Polish time in Poland. Yes, there was migration. They're coming from Germany, from the German provincial states. They were coming from France or from Frankfurt. Frankfurt is very important because it's named after Pharaoh, the fort of Pharaoh in the heart of West Germany. That's a very important history many people don't know. So what do you call it? Yiddish was the official language in this Polish state settlements throughout Poland and Ukraine and Lithuania, because it was called. They don't give us a clear history. They say after the Renaissance, Polish, Lithuanian Commonwealth, etc. There is more to this, and the Yiddish is a mixture of what do you call it? German dialects, Slavic dialects, mixture of Hebrew, which was originally Arabic. Yes, so that's why it's the language is something else. But anyway, the thing is that this is what they will tell you in history. They will say there were many attempts to integrate the Jewish people into European unity, like a Prussian state or a German state or anything. There was attempts, same like the Arabs are right now. They've tried many times to actually integrate Israel or the Jewish people who are living there right now. Yes, integrate them into the local societies of the billion Muslims that are around them. Yes, and that's why they say they don't recognize Israel, and they say, what do you call it? Yes, if the people are here, let them integrate. Yes, it would be an evil thing to say, hey, let's wipe the people off the map or throw them into the sea. They came from Europe. But we have to look at the circumstances. Why did they come? They were genuinely being persecuted. Yes. And what do you call it? Yes, we see many Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Indians, Turkish, Iranians who are at these protests, free Palestine. But let's have a look. Yes, what's exactly going on in the Middle East? These are very important issues. Yeah, what do you call it? Yes, in the Gulf countries, 10,000 Asian migrant workers die in the Gulf every year. Who knows? Maybe it's 5,000 or something. It could be exaggerated or it could be even more. Yes, but let's just have a look at the situation in Arab countries. South Asian labor workers, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka. Yes, they get face physical abuse, getting slapped, sexual abuse, things like this in these Middle Eastern Arab countries. Yes, which nobody seems to talk about. Not only that, yes, they're building these Arab countries into beautiful places. Yes,
Right.
and what do you call it? They're getting paid slave labor wages. Isn't it supposed to be a Muslim Brotherhood thing? Yes, they're getting paid peanuts. Yes, and when I was traveling in those countries, do you want to know the truth? I was actually waiting because I fly around very often. So when I was flying around in that region, because I wanted to go to as many cities as possible, yeah, for the huge distances, and I was in a queue. Yes, and in that queue, everybody was from Pakistan, Bangladesh, or India. Do you know what happened? The airport security came over to me and said, "You're in the wrong queue." And he said it in front of them, and he said, "That's for them." I said, "Who's them?" And he said, "Them, poor
Wow.
people." I couldn't believe it, and he said, "This way, please." Yeah, I was totally shocked. And the thing is, I didn't know what to do. So instead, I said, it's okay. And because I smoke, I turned and said, "Where's the smoking room?" I just went to the smoking room instead. When I came back, I just sat down waiting for the flight because I didn't want to insult him or insult the crowd either. But these are the cities they're building. Skyscrapers like, we could turn around and say like Miami or Chicago. Yes. So the thing is, it's well known. This is not hidden. Yes. Here is many people are asking, why do they get treated like garbage? Afghan workers, Pakistan workers. Yeah. So the thing is, it's not just about Palestine. This is a very deep subject. Yes. So now we're hearing, yes, in London, in Paris, everywhere. It's Moroccans as well. It's Egyptians. They're being treated like trash because if they're from a poor country, they're treated like trash in the Middle East for some reason. Yeah. So people are from Morocco. They're protesting Algeria. They're protesting Egyptians in Paris. Yeah, Bangladeshis, Pakistanis. Yes, Indians. So what the hell is going on here? And people will turn around and say, "Hey, it's for human rights." What about the human rights for thousands of people who are dying? Yes, thousands. Yes, it doesn't sound like a joke that for the Qatar at that time F4 or World Cup or something. Yes, around that time 10,000 people died. Yeah, imagine if Israel wiped off 10,000 people off the map. I'm not justifying anything. I'm saying, hey, if you're going to protest, why don't you protest for everything? Yes, and what about Karabakh? What's going on there? The entire population has just left last week. Yes, let me just show you. It's a sad story. I don't see people protesting for Karabakh. Yes, yes. So the thing is, that was a Muslim country, Azerbaijan, that was involved. What do you call it? The thing is, yes. The thing is, they turn around and say the Armenians just left. Many Armenians will say we got expelled, but then what do you call it? Yes, the Azerbaijanis will turn around and say, hey, what do you call it? Yes, they did that to us too, 300,000 people or something. But two wrongs don't make a right. So if people are going to be just standing in for one issue, I don't call that Christianity. Yes, where I was surprised by the large number of Christians who are protesting for the Palestinians. Yes, the thing is this time. So the thing is, why is nobody talking about up to about 80,000 or 100,000 Armenians have just they've just left ghost cities. Yes, you could find they've just left their homes, everything, just before last week. It's just an international scandal, and there's big queues, roads, everything. So now the thing is, if people are going to talk about Israel, they must speak about Karabakh too, and about all other conflicts. And hey, the thousands of people who are dying, yes, who are actually dying, yes, in these Gulf countries. It's not a joke. Oh yeah. So now let's move on. Move on. So the Karabakh thing, it's a disaster. So now let's have a look at what's actually going on, the type of things that are going on in the Gulf countries. Um, wait. And that Karabakh truck picture, the second one didn't get through, so I'll send it again. What do you call it? Yes. Is it because these people are Christian that nobody's talking about them? But then the mysterious silence of the Europeans and the Americans, they've just shown a little bit that we're talking entire cities and villages of people. Everybody's just gone. Yes, 100,000 people, not a million, but still, this is a joke. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to sleep? What are they going to eat? I mean, just because they don't have a billion Muslim brothers or a billion Christians or anybody to help them, it doesn't mean that we should ignore this. Okay, now let's get back to the Gulf countries. Yes, so what do you call it? Saudi Arabia. Yes, things like the Saudi men can't marry Bangladeshis, Pakistanis, and other things. I don't know if it was a temporary law, but even in Pakistan, the people were upset saying we get treated like trash over there. And they're asking, why can't Pakistani men marry Saudi women? Oh yeah, by the way, why can't Pakistanis, Bangladeshi citizens and Indians, why can't they marry any of these Arab women over there? Oh, by the way, Gaza's got a lot of oil and gas. Let's say if Gaza becomes independent and they bring Pakistani, Bangladeshi workers, how are they going to treat them? These are serious questions. So the thing is, this is a bigger issue. Yes. So the thing is, this is not just made up information. Here's from the Express: Saudi men banned from marrying Pakistani women. Yes. So what the hell is going on here? Yes. And then it's well known racism in the Arab world against Pakistanis, Moroccans, Algerians, Egyptians, Sri Lankans, Indians. Yes. And so the thing is, it's a serious issue. And then the thing is, Palestine's forgotten oil and gas resources. Yes. What will they do if they're going to bring workers from these Muslim territories known as Pakistan or Egypt? How are they going to treat these people? This is a serious question. So the thing is, we have to address all the issues. You can't ignore and say 10,000 people who've died. Yes, in the Middle East over there, and they're paying them slave labor wages. And the local people won't even work for this, and they'll say, I'll never work for this. Are you joking? Yes, the local Arabs won't even do it. Yes, so these issues need to be looked at. So now let's get back to Palestine. So now the thing is, when the British took over, yes, they were issuing passports to the Polish people who were coming. So, of course, the British called them the Palestine passports. The local people didn't call it that. Palestine, the Polish people are coming. So, here is the Palestine passports. And then we'll see that, what do you call it? There's wait, there's what do you call it, Christian priests and everything. What do you call it? Don't know who he is, but these people are saying yes, the Palestinians are Arabs. No, it's not. The Palestinians, and that name was invented, the Polistinians. Yes, it was invented from there. Yes, and then what do you call it? Yes, we can even see this even in the history. Many people, the Hebrew dictionaries have been falsified. Yes, Greater Israel. Yeah, the way things are going, there's going to be settlements in Jordan soon, Israeli settlements in Syria soon, in Lebanon soon. They call it Eretz Israel, or however you want to pronounce it. The pronunciation has been invented, but has anybody thought maybe it means Rosh Israel or Russia Israel? Yes, like we have Perussia, yes, and Russia. It's because flamenco shows that Israel was a civilization that was Eurasia. Yes, it was all the Asians and the Europeans. Yes, and then the thing is, when this priest is showing this, he's showing this that the Bibles, especially, yes, after the 1850s and 60s, they started publishing in the 19th century in the Bibles, yes, saying Palestine or the Holy Land, and they're trying to claim it's the Middle East. And the war is going to go on because, according to these maps, yes, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, all of these lands are part of the Israel of the Bible, according to what they've
Right.
invented. Yes, and then they've given a fake history that you can even see. They've given a fake history, and they've turned around and said the term Palestine or Polistine comes from the word Palashet. Yeah, Palashet. Yeah, Polish. Yes, and then they're saying, what do you call it? Yes, we can't really find it. What do you call it in the Septuagint? Yes, things like this, and it's like an invented name. Yes, so it shows that the Bible must have been written recently. So now let's go forward a bit more. Yes, so we know that the Jewish civilization in Poland started sometime after the Renaissance. It says Jewish printing establishments in Poland started in the first quarter of the 16th century. Yes, and the oldest synagogue is the 15th century. Yes, but if we remove the 100 years of forgery, it's about the 17th century. And then the first synagogue, there's no evidence of this, and we can't even prove it. It's just, hearsay and speculation. Same like, oh, the pyramids, we don't know how they built it, aliens, blah, blah, blah. Yes, and so the thing is, before, you can find other encyclopedias. Yes, like let me just show one here. Yes, and other encyclopedias. Let me just show who these people are. Have you got it? The Evo Encyclopedia.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, what do you call it? The Evo Encyclopedia is the history of Jewish people in Eastern Europe. Yes, or what we call Poland, Lithuania. So now the thing is, this is not me. So this is what Jewish people themselves say right now, or the people who control Jewish history, the people in power. Now, according to them, yes, I've just sent it to you. Have you found it so that you know who is Yivo?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, according to them, yes, what do you call it? That it was only by the end of the 17th century that Polish Jewry had the highest number of Jews of any other Jewish population center. Yes, until what do you call it? You could say the 20th century. Yes, and the majority of the Jews of at that time, those Jews, yes, not the Jews of that I've written about in my books, the followers of Moses. Now, if anybody wants to know what about the Jews of the Middle Ages and who was the kingdom of Judah, yes, if you've not read it, I can't do anything. It's in my book, The Last Crusade, yes, and it's in my book, Jesus Christ, yes, and the explanations of the several meanings of Judah. So If you've not read it, I can't do anything, to waste time and put it in a video here. Yes. So I have written about these things. Yes. So it's like now we're talking 17th century, according to the YIVO Jewish Encyclopedia. So now if we remove the 100 years that we can't find from the Napoleon to the Napoleon, yes, then it means it's not the end of the 17th century, but the end of the 18th century. You see? And that means it's only recent history and we can trace the history. You see? Do you see what
Yes.
I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
That means, as Henry Atlan said, Henry Atlan is a Jewish, from a Jewish background, and he is a very famous professor. He's done a lot of work to show that Judaism was invented after Christianity and after Islam. Yes, people can find his works online. He's what do you call it? A French professor. His origin is Jewish, and he even says it. His exact words are Judaism is not chronologically the first one God religion, but in fact the third. It was invented in the Middle Ages following Christianity and Islam in reaction against these two religions. Who created it? Now, when we say the Middle Ages, Professor Fomenko shows they added this 1,000 years on. So now when we look at the evidence, we turn and see, hey, Jewish people are mysteriously turning up in Europe, or the current form of Judaism, only in the 17th, 18th century. This means about 200, 300 years ago. So now let's get back to Palestine, or to Poland, and what do we see? By the end of the 15th century, they say the 15th century, there may have been, it's just a guess, 18,000 Jews in the Kingdom of Poland. That's it. And then 6,000 Jews in Lithuania. At that time, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Poland and Lithuania. Yeah, yeah. You know this history? Yes,
Let
yes,
me
Raphael.
see. Well, I know. All right. Mm-hmm.
Polish-Lithuanian
Mm-hmm.
Commonwealth. You've
Right,
not
right,
heard of
right,
it?
right, right. Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So now the thing is, they've turned around and said, what do you call it, 15th century. I couldn't find this history. It looks like it turned up in the 17th century and started growing in the 18th century. So now, when I've said that, what do you call it, the Arabic people in that region are not Palestinians. That place has never been called Palestine. Yes. Now, when we have a look at Ottoman documents and the Turks, yes, and Palestinian documents, this place was known as Kudus-i-Sharif. The city Jerusalem was called Quds, was never called Jerusalem. They've translated it as Mutasharifate of Jerusalem. No, it was Mutasharifate of Kudus, or yes, or sheriff. Like the sheriff, the police. Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, the entire region, yes, what is known as Israel or Palestine today, yes, to the local people was actually called Kudus or Quds. Yes, so all these Muslims who are protesting should actually say, free, free Quds, free, free Kudus. That's what the land is called. Yes, it was never called Palestine. Even the local people are saying it's Palestine. And then we can even see, recent maps, 19th century, 20th century, the Ottoman Empire was still here, that the maps show that that land was called Kudus al-Sharif. It has never been called Palestine. That the name Palestine has its origin. Where does it say it?
In the
Yes.
Hebrew Peleshed.
Yeah, Polish.
Mm-hmm.
Polishstein. Yes, Poland. Yes. Palestine is Polishstein. Palestine's in Poland. Yes. And that Palestine in Poland is gone now. The Jews have left there. So Palestine does not exist. Yes. And that land over there is actually Kudus al-Sharif. Yes. And that's what it is. And that's the reality. And then, of course, they invented the full history, ancient Palestinians and all this garbage. Yes, what do you call it? The invention of ancient Palestinians, Philistines, and all these things. They've invented them, and and they've invented the entire history. That I'll just send this quickly as a reminder that the Palestinians themselves, they even say Al-Quds is not Jerusalem. Yeah, actually, there was a message in one of the videos, something like Al-Quds is not Jerusalem, and it will never be Jerusalem. Yes, it's Al-Quds. Yes, the thing is, we find it in Palestinian, the Arab publications. Al-Quds is not Jerusalem. These are the local people. Yes, and then what do you call it? There's many people who, I call them liars. They're going to say, there was a liar. I call it a liar. Yes, because they're misleading people. Yes, and they're turning around and saying, what about the Christians? They've been going to holiday to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Now, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, we can see the domes being put there in the 20th century and everything under the British occupation and everything. And then what do you call it? Yes, people will say that building's been for centuries. No, it was only built in the 19th century. Of course, they've given a false date that they started constructing it in 1809 by Nikolaos Komnenos of Lesbos, but this history is a forgery. Can't even find it. I couldn't find it, couldn't verify it, that it must have been built and finished in the 1830s. For construction started and probably finished by the 1860s. Yes. So the thing is, it's a total lie. Yes. So that's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and then when the Polish Jews from Palestine started going to what we call Palestine, yes, what we will find is more suspicious history. Yes, what we will find is what do you call it? They'll turn around and say there was a Jewish community inside Jerusalem. Oh yeah. So the thing is, many people won't investigate, but if you investigate, then you will find that these buildings were only built in the 19th century. Yes, and they're not even old. And in the 20th century, here is what do you call it, Hurba Synagogue. Yes, and the thing is, when anybody has a look at the history of this synagogue, yes, we're going to see that what do you call it? Yes, they turn around and say, no, the synagogue was built on a land that was wasteland. Yeah, and it was desolate for. You can read it yourself. How long was it desolate for, Raphael?
I have
In
to
the middle.
find it. So
The plot became known as the ruin
the
or
plot,
Hurba,
yeah, the plot became known as the ruin or Hurva, okay, where it lay desolate for 116 years until it
and
was
then it was
resettled in
resettled
1837.
37 by Ashkenazi Jewish community known as Polishim. Perishim.
Mm-hmm.
Polishim. Yes, and in 1864, resettled means somebody has come. It doesn't mean there's a synagogue there. It was built in 1864. Yes. 1864. Then it was destroyed by the British forces, but they're going to turn and say it was the Arab forces. The Arab Legion I described was British. There was no Arab invasion of Israel trying to wipe out Israel off the map. Yes, in 1948 or in 1956, those were British invasions. Yes, and French invasions, and they're just lying. So now the thing is, I'll send it again so that people can read it clearly. Yes, that's like one of the first synagogues there. Yes, so we can't find even what do you call it? Yes, we can't even find what do you call it? The Jewish community there. Yes, and then the word Farsi, Firan, and Palestine, and all these things. Soon people will understand what this is. Yes, that what do you call it? The word parash means to separate. Yes, to separate or to divide. Yes. So now we've got the Parashim or the Palashim or Polishstein or Palestine. It divided Europe. Europe was at war. Russia, Germany, and that place, I'll go to it in a minute. So now, what do you call it? Yes, these names are very important. Yes, who were these people? The Parashim, yes, or the people who were dividing. They were disciples of Vilna Gaon. This is very important. Elijah ben Solomon Zalman, or Salman, if you want to say it in the Arabic way, who left Lithuania at the beginning of the 19th century. Yes, because the 19th century, they added on 100 years, it's more like at the end of the 19th century, not the beginning. Yes, if you don't read Napoleon didn't exist, you won't know this. So what do you call it? Yes, I can't be bothered reading out the whole book here, but that information is there. The entire century is a joke. It doesn't exist. So now the thing is, the synagogue wasn't there. There's nothing there. Now the biggest synagogue in Israel, yeah, at that time, yes, in the 18, it was only built in 1872. Yes, it was called Tiferet Israel, or Glory of Israel. That was only built in 1872. So the thing is, I'm going to send a picture of it. You will find it in the old photographs of Jerusalem 100 years ago. So now the thing is, what do you call it? This was the center of the Hasidic community. It's very important. Oh, they opened it on the 19th of August. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
nothing suspicious about that. Yes, or maybe the history was a fraud. Yes, so now let's have a look at this. Like the Russian, who are the Russians? The Russians are the French. I'm going to go through this in a minute, and they're the followers of Firaun. I've explained this before, or Pharaoh. The Russians, it wasn't a separate nation at the time. The fake Napoleon and the invasions. Well, anyway, in 1843, yes, that there was no what do you call it, Christian churches or anything. You can't even find Christianity there. That Tsar Nikolai I in the 1850s wanted to buy land to build an Orthodox church. You see, because Jerusalem is in Europe. That place is not Jerusalem. There was no Christian churches there, no synagogues, nothing. It was just local people, and they were just Muslims. That is the reality, and all these other people are just inventing lies. Lies saying, hey, there was all these people who were coming for centuries. There's a comment there. If that person watches, are they going to admit it and say, I was wrong? Oh no, I doubt it. These people will just put another comment and something to see people. Here is the Israel uh, um, synagogue again, the Tiferet synagogue. Yes, and the thing is, have a look at it. Yes, it was the biggest there at the time, and then they turn around and say the Arab Legion destroyed it. Yes, in 1940. What do you call it? Yes, and in 1967, have a look at the architecture and the walls. You don't know the difference if that's Roman or Greek. Can you see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
No. So in the same way they invented ancient Rome and Greece, yeah, they've invented ancient Israel. And the things they just used many ruins like this, and then they showed it. Have a look in the background. You can see the Tiferet Israel synagogue. It's the biggest building in the Jewish quarter. Yes, or what they said was the Jewish quarter. Yes, and they'll say the Arab Legion destroyed it in 1948. That synagogue and the other one, and all this information is in my books. And then the thing is, they're spreading this history that's causing racism, hatred. Yes, it's causing all the battles. Why did the Arabs destroy dozens of synagogues? Yes, yeah. So what do you call it? Yes, and the thing is, Americans united with Israel. This is just spreading hate. All this history is a lie. Jerusalem synagogue rises from ashes. The Jordanian Arab Legion blew up the two tallest synagogues. Arab. So the thing is, did this Arab Legion even exist? Yes. So now let's have a look at this Arab Legion. And then what do we find? Yes. The Arab Legion, they turn around and say the Arabs invaded. Yeah. What do you call it? Yes. What do we find about the Arab Legion? Yes, go to the bottom. What does it say? Glubb was one such. Glubb was a British general. What do we see there?
His Arab Legion was the best trained military unit in the Middle East and arguably the best outside of the First World.
Yeah, and then go to the second sentence. His legion had what type of officers? British officers.
Right.
It was a British army. It was simply a British army, and they've invented this history. Yes, now the Arab Legion, I will go through it clearer. Yes, because some people will say that's not big enough writing. Okay, I'm prepared for you. Few people who are going to say the Arabs were invading Israel. They didn't like the Jews. They blew up the synagogues. This Arab Legion that was run by Glubb, General Glubb, a British general, in what do you call it? In each of the battalions, there were fighting Jews. There were and things like this were British, 4 British officers per battalion. Yes, and what do you call it? Yes, Jordanians could come to senior command, but they were just workers. Yes, and they filled just 7 of the 44 officer posts, only 7. Yes, and what do you call it? Yeah, the British official rolls record 46 of their army officers in this legion. It was a British legion. The British invaded and attacked the Israelis. It was the British and the French. Yes, then they're going to turn and say Gamal Abdel Nasser invaded from the north. Well, at that time, Egypt was occupied by the British. The British were ruling Egypt. I've said this before, but just to make it a bit clear and to make it a bit easy, I want to see who in the right mind is going to believe this history. Here is 1947, around that time, or yes, here is just one British barracks in Cairo, Qasr el Nil. Yeah, Qasr el Nil barracks. And the thing is, have a look. This is the just one. There's many barracks. Yes, they've got many barracks throughout Egypt, and they're saying that the Egyptians got past the British. They didn't have no weapons, and the
Right.
Egyptians invaded Israel. Sure. Yeah. And what do you call it? Yeah. And what do you call it? Yes. And the British in Cairo at that time. Yeah, I'm going to enlarge this. The army is walking around. They had martial law, but no, the Arabs raised an army in Egypt and they invaded Gaza. Yeah, and you could read it there. What do you call it? The British troops in Cairo shoot dead. So they've invented a history and it contradicts what they're even saying. They're lying. How can it's like this? The Americans invaded Iraq, and then they're going to turn and say, "Oh, we rule the country, but Iraq has just invaded Germany." Rubbish!
Right.
How could it have? The Americans are inside. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, the Americans occupied it. The British were occupying Egypt. They'll turn around and say, oh, Jordan was independent by then. Rubbish. The British Army's there. And they've trained a few local people. Like in the American Army, we see mercenaries, other things. Yes. And the thing is, these local people had no guns, nothing. It was martial law, military law. And people expect me to believe all this? Yes. It sounds like garbage. Now the thing is, now let's move on. So now it's clear Palestine is Palestine. They invented the name. These local people are the people of Kudus. Yes, the Christian history is a lie. There was no Christian churches there, no Jewish synagogues there. The local people will say this, but yeah, now the Muslims who are living in Europe and America because they believe this Western history, which is total utter garbage, they're going to say, oh, that place is Jerusalem. They've been going there for centuries. Yes, there is no name Jerusalem there. Nothing. None of these places even existed. All the places were invented by what do you call it? The British and the French. They invented these names because they had their agendas. Yeah, and then the thing is, the location of what many people don't know. Wait, let me just send you a bit more information. Like here is an example. Let's just have a look at this. Yes, have a look at this. And when we read this, it says, this is from, I forgot what, it's in the 19th century. At that time, only about 10% of British Americans, Australians spoke English, the rest of them couldn't. But that 10% is a lot when we got Canada, Australia, England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, United States, New Zealand. So now it says, we who sit at home, this is in the 19th century. Think of Syria as Jewish land. Yeah, look at this. Syria as Jewish land. This is a warning about the future. The conflict's going to spread. Same like what do you call it, Palestine. The Jewish settlement spread in other places, and I will explain how they spread. Yes, people have got the right to go everywhere. Now the thing is, we've got to do this peacefully. They need a Middle Eastern Union, like we've got the European Union. Yeah, Muslims should be able to travel to Israel, which they've started to make agreements like the Abraham Accords. Dubai people will go to Israel. Yes, if the Saudis make a deal, they'll do the same. We need a permanent solution. This cannot continue. Yes, and now if people are just not going to look at the history, if we see what actually happened to Palestine, because of Palestine, many people actually turn around and say that World War One and Two actually happened because of the Jewish people. Yes, many people actually say this. It's actually in history that they turn around and say the rise of the Nazi party and everything because they blamed the Jewish people. Many people are, and the pogroms in Eastern Europe and in Russia, that are blaming the Jewish people for anything that went wrong. Now, in the Middle East, it's a similar thing. Yes, and of course, many people will say, yes, Israel is occupied land, it's persecuting people, etc. Yeah, I'm going to go through that in a minute. So, a similar thing happened 100 years ago, 150 years ago. Now, if we don't look at this history, it means we won't learn from the mistakes. And what was the result? Who created Palestine? Who created it and why? Who has now created this current Palestine and why? So anyway, it says, what do you call it? Yes, 150 years ago, Syria. They called, many people called, Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan. They called it all Syria. It says, we who sit at home think of Syria as Jewish land and suppose that if we traveled it, we will be greeted at every turn with Jewish history, Jewish memorials. People went there, they found nothing. Travelers bring a different tale. Almost every trace of Jewish history has faded away or been buried beneath the soil. Of course, because British and French and
Yeah, then they
Italian,
can
Vatican.
go and dig it out, quote unquote,
Yeah, they
or
turned and said, we just found it. Yes. And by that time, they convinced people to think Rome is still Rome. Athens has Greek citizens because Greece is another fake. In the same way that Israel is being created now, Greece was created 100 years ago. And they said, what do you call it? And this is people, this is in the North British Review, this magazine. What does it say about Al-Quds? What did they say?
Al-Quds is not Jerusalem.
Yes, people went there and they said it's not Jerusalem. There's no Christians here, no Jews here. Yeah, we can't find any monuments, no nothing. Yeah, and they said Nablus is an Arab city. It's not Shechem. Yeah, Sebustia is not Samara. Yes, Tusur is not Tyre. They've changed the name to Tyre now. Yes, El Khalil is not Hebron. These localities are identical, yes, to the Bible, but are identical in names, but the identifying features are few. Yeah. And the thing is, half effaced means at that time, they started building a synagogue, building churches. This, that, the Russians
Right.
and the French are coming. You know what I mean? It's just a total invention, total forgery. Now, some people are going to say, I made this up. Let's have a look at this. Yes, of course, they forged the dates of the 19th century. Yeah, there's something wrong with the calendar. This is the North British Review, 1858. Yes, 1858. Yes, the forged the calendar, but it's around that time. It's in the 19th century. Yes. What do you call it? Yes. And then the thing is, people are turning around and saying what we call Temple Mount or Al-Aqsa Cathedral, the Muslim mosque. Yes. And the thing is, even the BBC, the only evidence of an Israel or King Solomon's temple being in Quds or Kudus, pronounce it how you want. The only evidence is the Bible. There are no other records describing it, and to date there has been no archaeological evidence of the temple at all. Nothing whatsoever. Oh, there's a few things they're finding now. They're all forgeries. Yes, and then somebody's going to turn and say, what about some of the paintings and the pictures, yes, that we found showing that Jerusalem is Al-Quds? Now, if you've got two different conflicting accounts, one painting shows that Jerusalem is Istanbul, one Jerusalem shows that it's Edinburgh, yes, one Jerusalem shows that it's Moscow, another one shows that it's Paris. We can find the history of all these four, but the Jerusalem being in Quds, we can't find this history at all. It means it was invented by the British, French, and the Vatican because of their objectives, something to do with Palestine and something to do with Palestine. And let's investigate further to see what was it and what was it, or why would they do this? There must be some serious reason as to why they have done this. Why have they invented it? So the thing is, of course, in history, yes, like for example, the Bible says, what do you call it, King David existed. Yes. So now when we check the history, we can find that there was a King David, but he was in the Middle Ages somewhere, and more like in Eurasia, not just a small civilization or a King Solomon. That we've got these duplicates. Professor Anatoly Fomenko goes through it. I go through it in my books too. If you haven't read it, it's a long story. Now let's look at this. Yes, the actual conflict itself. Yeah, here we see, the Israeli army. Yes, they're arresting little kids. A proud army. They're so brave. Yes. Oh, by the way, we call it arresting, but they call it kidnapping. What's the difference between an arrest and a kidnap? Oh, by the way, they got to pay cash for their release, hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars. That's a kidnapping. Yes. Oh, Hamas does the same thing. So now let's have a look at this. These are brave soldiers. We have to be proud of them. They're fighting terrorists. Yes. What do you call it? Yes. They're pointing guns at children. We don't know. Those children could be future terrorists. We don't know. What do you think, Raphael? We got to deal with this. They're going to be future terrorists. Don't you think so, Raphael?
Well,
okay, now let's actually go through the violence itself. So now the Israeli army just stands there doing nothing. He's just holding his gun. He's not, doing anything. And that's Jewish people who've come from Europe or America or other places. They're throwing rocks at, Arabic people who are, on the other side. I've made this bigger to show you they won't do anything. Yes. So this is on the mainstream news, so it's nothing to be shocked with. This is normal mainstream news. Here you see somebody walking with an axe going towards the Arabs, another one going with a metal bar. There's a video of this. They actually, seriously hurt people there. On the other side, yes, it's not just the Jewish people. Yes, on the other side, the Western media will actually show, yeah, the Muslims are doing the same thing, but the Muslims, do less damage. Yes, and then we actually see, what we call the people of God, being very friendly and polite. Yes, this is in the British Guardian newspaper. Yes, people abusing people, insulting people, just as they walk past. Yes, that's what we see. If it was an Arabic person who did it, I wonder what would happen, what the military would do. What would they do? What can we see what the military does? If an Arabic woman is going to swear back or something, what's he doing here? Yeah,
well, the official term is arrest, but you called it kidnapping, I guess.
He's not even kidnapping. He's kicking her. He's kicking her.
Right.
Old women. These are brave soldiers. They're fighting terrorists. We've got to stick up for them. That old lady is a terrorist. Yes, he's a hero. Yes, chosen by God. Yes, and the thing is, the thing is, what's going on? This is the reality here. Yes, the Israeli army has, arrested just during the Intifada over 50,000 people, up to 100,000 people. They're arresting terrorists. We can see he's taking a terrorist there. That terrorist is so dangerous. The soldiers were so brave. Yes. And things like this, here is more, the soldiers.
And let me just say, I mean, you pointed already out why that is, but if you were just to exchange the individuals and put, let's say, one side and the other, and put the one in the military uniforms and the other one in rags, especially with this population there, oftentimes you probably couldn't even tell who is who.
Come on, Raphael, can't you see this new picture? The soldiers actually arrested, kidnapping a terrorist. That's a terrorist there. A 5-year-old terrorist. Come on, Raphael, whose side are you on? What's going on here? Yes, and the thing is, yes, they're not abusing people, we've got 6-7-year-old children here, in case they're not children, they're terrorists. He's pointing the gun at them, the soldier is so terrified for his life. These 6-year-old terrorists might kill him. He's just defending himself. Yes? Don't you think so?
Yeah, it's a bad look. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's bad luck for the soldier. Poor soldier. Here they've arrested a 3-year-old terrorist. You're a 4-year-old, sorry. Yes, the Muslims will say kidnapped. Yes, I've got Muslim viewers. They're kidnapping, 3-year-old kids here, 4-year-old kids here. And Yes, Yeah, and even if European people go there to protect people, they're just hospitalizing people. And if it's on video, they'll suspend them. But if it's not on video, they won't suspend them or something. Attacking them with
But also, it
guns and
should be
everything.
clear that aside from these things apparently happening, there is also a reason why at least certain media would be pushing that. Because aside from individual wrongdoings that happen so often, it's also just
Yeah.
about, again, stirring up the animosities, no? In the
Yes,
larger frame.
but Raphael, these 5-year-old children are terrorists.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, obviously. Yeah.
No, 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 no. Whose side are you on?
Yeah. No,
Who do you stand
yeah.
with? Yeah,
Yeah.
these are brave soldiers. They're terrified. Yes. Okay, now let's go through more. Now, this is, what do you call it? This is from the Daily Mail. So now the thing is, why I said these protests, people have to think again. Now, here, they're teaching, this is the Muslims now. They're teaching Palestinian children to actually hold weapons, even if it's a toy weapon or something. Yes, the thing is, because now the conflict is getting out of control. Now, many people don't see it. It could lead to an Armageddon in the entire region, like we saw Armageddons in Europe, World War One and Two. Many people have not really examined why they happened. So the thing is, this this cannot continue, because if a World War III happens, it's going to be our fault. We've ignored this, and then the Muslims have ignored this, and the Christians. They're just protesting on either side, yes, and things like this, and they don't know what's going on. And some people are saying, "Hey, we don't need to know," and then the number 19 isn't important. Yes, it is. Because then we can see that they're just having fake meetings, fake actors and everything, and they're not even doing anything at these peace accords. Oslo Accord, they made it on the 19th. Yeah, you can go and check it.
Hmm.
Oslo 1, they signed it in Norway, and then the ceremony in America, and then the treaty was dead in 2020 on the 19th. This is on my book, and by Mahmoud Abbas. Both these leaders, the Israelis and the Palestinians, they're all actors. Yeah, so now let's have a look. Yeah, here are Israeli children, Jewish children. Yes, the next generation is being brainwashed worse than ever before.
Right.
Yes, with weapons. Yes, and the thing is, this is in the Washington Post. I'm only going to send pictures from the mainstream media, so because I don't want anyone to say that what do you call it? And I'm not choosing sides. I'm showing that this is going to be one of the worst things ever. And the thing is, it's not about a question of winning or losing. That everyone knew that there was the Polish Stein, or Poland, and many people blamed the Jews for causing instability in Europe. The matter was settled when the communists and the Nazis walked in. For them, that they thought, hey, Europe's unity is at stake. The communists took one half of Europe, and what they did to the Jewish people, and then the Nazis took the other half, what they did to the Jewish people. Yes, and then the European Union is one result, and the Russian Federation is the other. Now, in the Middle East, it's a British project to actually unite the Middle East, and the French project, and the Vatican one. Yes, they invented. Oh, with the British soldiers
And
there, you
just to be
saw the
clear,
thing.
by unite, you just mean get them under common
No, no, no.
control.
There's more. You saw the soldiers, the pictures. Yes, the British occupied Cairo. Now there's all these Muslim history books in Cairo. Who the hell wrote them? Let me just show you again. The British Army. Yes, they were patrolling these mosques. They controlled it. They put these books there that many people say some disgusting things are in them. And it's a British and a French idea. When I say uniting, it means that the people will obey the authority and obey the law. Because currently, in most Muslim countries, the public does not obey the government. Why don't they have proper elections or democracies? What is an election in democracy? It means you've accepted the people in power and you're going to pay them cash. You can't
Yes.
build a house where you want. They control all the land and
They
everything.
tax everything, they make the laws for
Yeah.
you.
So now,
Yeah.
now in the Muslim countries, the average person doesn't recognize this. You see now. Are you beginning
That's a
to see?
problem for the pharaonic system, of course, to the extent
Yes,
that
for
this
the
is
for the new world
exercised.
order. So now let's move forward and have a look. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Yes, and Palestinian Authority magazine. Yes, What are they doing here? Who runs the Palestinian Authority? The evidence shows from the mathematical codes, it shows that the British, French, the Americans, and the Vatican, and the Masons and the Jesuits, they control the Palestinian Authority. That's why I call him an idiot. Yes, making a public statement saying these mathematics and these numbers don't mean anything. Yes, they do. It's because if you don't know the history, you will not know the solution. What do you mean? What are you going to achieve by protesting? They've got an objective, and you can see it in the mathematical codes that it's for the next 50 years. For the next 50 years or
And the
100 years, it's
people
not going to stop.
protesting against each other's populace in a way, or being angry at them instead of
What did the
everyone.
what did the
In,
what did the guns show you, Raphael? It shows you they're training the next generation. That's what it shows. Yeah, and those are Arab children. Now let's have a look at Israeli children. What what does this show you? What is this showing you? Yes, and this is the EU Observer, and they're
honestly,
saying
kind
it's
of
the
reminds me of
last
the pictures
150.
people sometimes show from North Korea, where you have all in the kindergarten, you have the nuclear bombs or whatever they say on the
Yeah.
walls and everywhere. Yeah.
Anyway,
Militarizing the mindset.
yeah, it's because I want to fit in a lot of information in this. That's why I keep trying to move on. Yeah, yes, sorry about that. I don't want to go into North Korea. So look at this. What do you call it? Yes, the Palestinians have no army. Israel has an army. That's the difference. Okay, the civilian violence going on, but what is the Israeli army doing? I mean, does that child's a terrorist? Oh no, no, no. It's not. What is the Israeli army doing? Sorry, that soldier's terrified. Maybe the soldier's defending himself. Oh my God, that's a terrorist. What are we going to do?
Well, the
You
real
know,
problem, of course, is, and this has been discussed somewhat, because you said, in a way, in a not very serious sense, but it's a serious question, you said, oh, he's a terrorist or he's a future terrorist. Well, if anything, and especially if the brainwashing
okay,
continues, these kind of incidents make it most likely
yes,
to radicalize every side even more.
yeah. You're making. Look at this. The soldier's defending himself. He's proud and he's so brave that they've made a history that Israel will be so proud of itself if it's still there in 100 years' time. Like, look at Germany today. Many German people can't show their face when it comes to history. They won't even talk about it. What are these people doing? The people in power are doing this to the Jewish people. That's what they're doing because they've done it in such a way. Yes, what do you call it? That many Jewish people can't show their faces. That the people in power are doing this, and they're using the name of the Jewish people. So
Yes.
that's why there is many Jewish people who are speaking up. Now it doesn't matter if they're Orthodox and you don't like it. Yes, they're turning around and saying, what do you call it? Israel does not. That state doesn't represent us. Yes, and the thing is, what do you call it? Yes, and it's not just religious Jews; it's actually secular Jews now. Who many secular Jews in Europe and America actually reject Israel. Yes, for example, here you'll see what do you call it? Many protests are organized by Jewish people in England and in America and in France, and they're actually rejecting what's going on. Yes, so if people in Israel turn around and think, it's a few Orthodox people, or maybe they're crazy and they're mad. No, have a look at this. The secular people, Jewish people, who are saying enough is enough, and they don't want it. Yes, and the thing is, they're actually speaking about it. Yes, and they're protesting. Actually, many of the anti-Israeli protests are organized by Jewish people born in Europe and America. Do you know this?
No, I didn't know about this. I just know that those groups
Yes.
exist.
Yeah. The thing is, they're organized. But anyway, back to this picture. This soldier is so terrified. He's scared for his life that we can even see that that's just a corridor that you walk to. He's protecting himself. He's defending himself. That child, maybe that child has got he's got a gun, and or his eyes have got lasers. The soldier is so terrified that these Palestinians, Arabs, are superhuman, that he's maybe the child will use lasers or something, that the soldier is defending himself. It's a proud army. Yes. Yeah, and it's not just that, look at this, they go inside schools regularly, yes, for the last 100 years, and these kids, 12-year-old kids, yeah, are so dangerous that what do you call it? Yes, they're so dangerous. Yes, that what do you call it? That soldier's defending himself. Can't you see the soldier scared? Look at his face. Can you see it, Raphael? Yes, he's
Yeah.
actually defending himself. We should be so proud. You know this? Yes, we should be so proud of this. Yes, let me just enlarge this. 12-year-old kids. Yeah, it's what do you call it? Yes, they're just defending themselves. That's what's going on. Yes, you see? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next, and let's have a look at this. This is from human rights. What do you call it? Yes. Here are people at checkpoints. They're just walking past, and the soldiers pointing the gun at the kids, not at the adults. What do you call it? Because maybe the kid, has got lasers, Superman or super kid. Yes, yes, and something, the soldier's terrified. Yes, he's just defending himself. You know, they're doing this all the time. Yes, that you're actually demonizing the people so that the people one day are going to fight back and attack. Yes.
Right.
So what do you call it? They're causing this. Who is organizing this? Oh yeah. So the thing is, here is a lady, a girl, a young girl, in her 20s. Yeah. And many of these girls, they're similar faces. Girls, in France, in Italy, people will say they're very beautiful girls. Let me just enlarge it. These girls got, kidnapped, and thousands of them, and they've all come back and they've reported sexual abuse. It's a proud army sexually abusing people. Oh, the thousands of children have come back and they've reported sexual abuse. Things like this. So the thing is, what do you call it? Yes, yeah, it's got a beautiful history. Yes, and then the thing is, what do you call it? When kids go to school or to university, soldiers regularly. Yes, the girls especially. Yes, what do you call it? The women, and things like this. And there's a lot of sexual abuse going on. Yes, in fact, this is a big topic. Yes, and what do you call it? Yes, let's look at Amnesty International here. Yes, the thing is, we're going to talk about recent history. Between 1987 and 1993, 100,000 Palestinians were arrested. Or the Muslims are going to say kidnapped. Yes, so I'm going to state both because I want to show how ridiculous this has become. Yes, they've kidnapped 100,000 people. What the hell is going on? In the space of 6 7 years here. 100,000 people you're kidnapping, and these people are turning around and saying, "Hey, they've been sexually abused." That's Amnesty International. If somebody says, "Hey, they're lying," then we've got human rights organizations at the UN. 100,000 people, yes, during that time period. And then there's another thing, yes, they break into houses. Um, you know, Hundreds of thousands of people's homes have been broken into in the last 100 years, and what do you call it? They've been kidnapping people from their homes at night. You know, yes, kidnapping people in occupied territory. Yeah, and the thing is, when they break in, they beat people up, they attack children. Look at this, and things like this. So, we're talking about they've done this to millions of people. What do you think these people are going to do? Yes, they're beating people up, breaking into houses, and then when they break in, of course, they trash the houses, gangsters, you got to pay ransom money for release. You know what I mean? They're trashing the houses and everything all the time. And, young girls, age 15, 16, they're kidnapping them all the time. Oh, sorry, arresting. It's called arresting. Yeah. What do you call it? Yes. And they arrest all these girls. Yes. And, they're coming back and they're reporting it. I will go through the reports in a minute. What do you call it? Oh, many of these girls are extremely attractive, very, very beautiful girls. Yes. What do you call it? Yes. So the thing is, these girls are getting kidnapped, and things like this. Why are these soldiers kidnapping girls? What's going on here? Yeah. what are they doing to all these girls? Yeah, yeah. So the thing is, what do you call it? Let's go through many reports. These reports are available at the United Nations and everywhere else. Of course, many girls are embarrassed to say what's going on, but we've got thousands who are speaking up. And you know, we all know what Muslim girls are like. Yes, they're not just going to make up these stories saying I've been raped. You know, they were doing this to my body and things like that. They're not going to make these things up. Like that girl that I've just sent the last picture, I think it's her or something. The soldiers beat her up. Yeah, after they kidnapped her. Oh yeah, they're beating people up, and then they blindfold them, handcuff them, and things like that, and things like that. They kept her for 3 days, things like that, handcuffed, and what do you call it? She was beaten, deprived of food, and things like this. Yeah, and of course, what do you call it? Yes, there's the sexual assaults. Yeah, which is classified as rape in England if you're going to sexually assault somebody. Yes. So these things, why are nobody talking about these things? We're talking about, thousands of women, what this is happening to, hundreds of thousands in 100 years. That these stories are just ridiculous. What's going on? Yeah. And then when she was released, how much did she have to pay? She was kidnapped, and then how much did they demand that she have to pay?
Here it says 750 US dollars.
Yeah, $750. Yeah, you know what I mean, yes. And then what do you call it? So these are the kind of things they're doing to these young girls. Oh, these girls are terrorists. Yes. And then the thing is, in these war zones, because it is a war zone, Benjamin Netanyahu has turned out and said, we're at war. All the Israeli presidents have said, we are at war. Yes. So kidnapping and hostage taking, yes. What do you call it? Yes, is a common thing in these war zones. Yes. And the thing is, let's see how many people. Yes, now they say the Palestinians have done it, Hamas. But the evidence shows from the mathematics that these Hamas incidents and the PLO incidents are actually organized by the CIA and the British, the French, the Jesuits, and the Vatican. Yes. So what do you call it? Yes. What happens with these kidnappings? Yes, or arrests? They usually turn around and call it, you got to pay cash. Yeah, of course, the Arabs have to do this. If not, you know what's going to be happening to your daughters. You understand? Yes,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So these are the kind of things. Like let's just have a look at this year. Yes, kids. Yeah, what do you call it? Yeah, 570 Palestinian children or Arab children were kidnapped in the first half of this year. Yeah, 160 of them were kept in prison for a long time. Yeah, kids. Yeah. So things like this. And then now this is what do you call it? It's widely documented. Europeans have been there. They've photographed the body parts of children who've been sexually abused and physically abused, and of women. Yes. The people can investigate this further. They can go there themselves. Yeah, go. Yes. Well, of course, you got to be careful. The Israelis will beat you up, not the Arabs. Yes. And what do you call it? Yes, the kids. These kids are getting abused. Yes. And the thing is, it's actually sick. Yes. And the thing is, now what's very important is that many people don't know these things. Some, not all, some of these soldiers pray. Yes, and they're holding religious books. So now we have to look at what the religious books are. Now I'm going to go through official, what do you call it, documents and other things, recent things, so that nobody can say I'm making anything up. Here is from a website run by the State Department or by the US government, National Institutes of Health.gov. And it talks about child abuse in the ultra Orthodox community. Now, many people will say that's the ultra Orthodox community, and it's not just what do you call it, other Jews or anything like that. But let's go through it. Yes. So now we've got all these children getting arrested, and the U.S. government is warning people about what do you call it? Yes, about Jewish law and sexual offenses against kids. Yes. So now that's the U.S. Government who's warning people. So now when we look at what's going on, the secular Jews rejected the Talmud. Yes, at one time. But what many people don't know is that, what do you call it? Yes, is that Reform Judaism dissociated itself from the Talmud because the Talmud mentions these things. But more recently, what does it say, Raphael, after the second sentence?
Reform leaders have been inclined to re-establish some measure of ritual practice and rabbinic climate.
Yes. So it's like, the thing is, what do you call it? Yes, it's come back. Yes. So, and who's controlling this? Many people are going through it. So now here is Haaretz, an Israeli newspaper. About 10% of Israelis read this. Yes. And what? How does it describe? What do you call it? Yes, Israel,
Here it literally
or
says, mhm,
or a group of people in Israel. What do they say?
it says a nation of pedophiles,
Yeah.
opinion piece
Yeah.
from Haaretz.
Yeah, actually, let's try not to use this word. Let's say child abuse instead. I totally detest that word. Yeah, and it talks about a nation inside Israel. There's groups who wish to cover up, yes, young girls in the name of God, what they're doing. Yes, so in the name of God. So the thing is, here is CBS News in America. This is mainstream news. Yes. So the thing is, over there it's reported, and it says, what do you call it? That many accused American child abusers go to Israel. Yes, because they've got Israeli passports, so they must be Israeli citizens or Israelis as well. So many of these people will probably serve in the Israeli army or not. And the thing is, Haaretz goes deeper into it. Yes, and it's even said Israel is becoming, a safe place for child abusers from around the world. Yes, yes, the child abuse that these people and what do you call it? They find it safe. Hey, we can run away there. Yes, yes. So what made them think they can run away there? The Talmud or Israel itself. So what do you call it? It goes through secret blacklist of Palestinian sexual harassers. So we have sexual harassment from many sides. Yes, what do you call it, from many sides. But the thing is, the Israeli army is involved in it in such a huge scale that it's unbelievable. Let's go through this more and investigate. Yes. So the thing is, when people are turning around saying, "I stand with Israel" or "Free Palestine," we really need to investigate these things. That the next generation, are they planning an Armageddon? Have the people in power caused this on purpose so that the violence gets worse? So the thing is, we have to really investigate this before we make decide what to do. Let's have a look at this. Children's Alliance, and there's many European, people who are charitable. Let's say if you want to be charitable, you'll say, "I'll go there, I'll join it." Palestinian children, when they get arrested, are sexually abused. I wonder what they're doing to these young boys and these young girls. Yes, what do you call it? Yes, the girls, they're always stripped naked, beaten, blindfolded, and many other things. Yes, always means in most cases, but in other cases, it depends. That there is many good soldiers, many people who refuse to serve in the army, but the amount of reports that's coming out, it looks like it's almost always that it's so widespread that even in the what do you call it? Yes, Save the Children. These are big organizations. Even they're talking about it. That it's not just a joke. Yes, that even Jewish journals and other things, and people who are in Europe and America are saying, "What the hell is going on?" That's why now, what do you call it? It says beyond male Israeli soldiers, raping Palestinian women in these detention centers, when they break into the houses, sexually assaulting them, things like this. This is what's happening. And everyone knows what the Muslims are like. We've got them in Europe and America. Never mind the Muslims. What would the people in Germany do, or in Canada do, or in Australia? If these men are coming in, they're kidnapping your daughters or kidnapping your children, and you found out your son, he's 5 years old, he's having problems in the toilet, and then he starts crying and he says, I've just been sexually abused. This is not a joke. You see? Yes. So these things, they're even in the journals. It's not even now even the alternative media. I'm talking about, that the calm media, music channels, everything. Even they've started talking about it. Palestinian women freed. Here is one case, Cairo.com. Women who were raped. When they got kidnapped. Of course, they're going to say we arrested them. They were terrorists. Why do you need to rape them if you're going to arrest them? Yeah. The medium, sexually assaulting the women and things like this, and saying, hey, we'll let you go. We're demanding sexual favors. We've broken into your house. We're going to stay here for an hour or two. We'll trash it. If you don't want us to damage the house, or, give me a sexual favor. This is, a professional army here. Yes. So the thing is, here is the Jerusalem Fund. These are now the mainstream media and Sage journals, everything. Sage Journal is a very big journal. All these people are mentioning it. Sexual harassment and sexual violence has been used systematically. It's normal by Israeli soldiers against the Arabs. Yes. What do you call it? Yes, sexual violence. It's a weapon. Yes. So the thing is, this is actually going to lead to World War III the way it's going. Let's say they expel the people of Gaza, they go to Egypt. Those people are going to talk. Already, everyone knows that the Muslims share messages amongst themselves, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. They know all this. It's the non-Muslims who don't know. You see? So the thing is, it's actually ridiculous. And do you want to know how bad this is? This is actually so bad that even I couldn't believe it myself. I knew it was there, but when I was preparing this video, look at this. 1 million Palestinians or Arabs have been arrested since 1948. No, detained means that they were kept in custody. And another million were arrested. That's 2 million Arabs. What have they done to these people? What do you think is going to happen when these children grow up? Is anyone paying them any compensation? Do they think they're just going to shut these people up? Yeah, they can do. Many people have said, let's kill them all.
But
Yeah,
even here, it's more likely that if it is up to the power structure, they deliberately would allow them to grow up, so the violence cycle continues.
that's what they have done. That's why already the violence isn't stopping. This has been happening since the 1940s. The British were doing the same thing. Yes, but now it's got worse. Like what do you call it? So if somebody says 1 million is an exaggeration of detention, yes, what do you call it? This is what do you call it? This is what do you call it? Organization for Human Rights. They say it's 800,000. Yeah, so people are fighting about the numbers. So what do you call it? Yes, you can debate about it, but the thing is, it's ridiculous. We're talking 2 million kidnappings by the Israeli army. And how many Israelis have been kidnapped in 100 years? You see, this is a serious thing. It seems like if somebody will say, is David trying to justify? No, I'll give you an example. In
And
England,
just to be clear about the
let me
population,
finish this. Raphael,
yes.
no, somebody will, because this is serious. Somebody will say, I'm trying to justify by the numbers. I will give an example. In America, we have a larger number of shootings and even fake shootings that are organized by secret organizations for political agendas. So people are afraid. So we see more people who carry guns. In England, there is rarely many shootings. That's why we don't carry guns. So over there, if you're going to kidnap 2 million people, more than this actually, and
Mhm.
you're going to, sexually abuse them and everything, those people are going to do kidnapping back. And they haven't kidnapped, tens of thousands of people even. Imagine if they kidnapped 2,000 Israelis. I'm trying to turn on and show that the scale of the attacks, who's actually doing all these attacks. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Not just that even today, what Wikipedia says, the total population of what would be called Palestine, West Bank and Gaza Strip is only about 5 million. And
Yeah,
so
so we're
if,
talking half the people. Of course, we know what the soldiers are like. They don't need to, what do you call it, kidnap the old men and the women. You know, I'm a younger man. If I'm looking for a girlfriend, I don't want a woman who's 65 years old. So me, I'm going to date or have a girlfriend, my age. You know what I mean, or younger. So of course
or
these soldiers.
arrest, yeah, I don't even
No,
want to
no,
say
no.
it.
I'm not
It's
in
a
the
joke.
Israeli army,
No,
by the
no,
way.
no,
Sorry.
no. I'm just saying, like, yeah, either that.
So what they're going
It's
to
so
do
strange.
is
Yeah.
they're arresting that. But why are they arresting these children? What's going on here? Let's go through this. Why are these children reporting sexual abuse? And not just reporting it, we've got people from Holland going there, from Scotland going there, from Australia going there. European people who are going visiting there, photographing the kids, examining them, and they found evidence of sexual abuse. Sexual abuse, I don't want to describe it, but I'm sure you can imagine what's happening to these 5, 10-year-old children. Yes, and they found evidence of it. Yes. So what do you call it? What do kidnappers normally do? Let's look at some things from Oxford University, from Oxford Academic. Oxford Academic, yeah. Many criminal kidnappers do not have access to safe or neutral territory. Yes, new kidnapping gangs, things like this, they're involved in the ransom business. So the thing is, the Israeli army, yes, if there's girls, the thing is, because people know what's happening to their children and their daughters, once you know, it's common news. Everyone knows, hey, they've just taken your daughter, she's 18. You know what happened to her sisters. What are you going to do?
Well, pay
They're
as
demanding
fast as
money.
possible, and no matter how,
Yes,
raise the money.
yes. And of course, the Israelis know that the Muslims collect money from all over the world. There's over a billion of them, and they're sending it to Gaza. They know that the cash is coming. You see, it's a business.
Oh my God.
Yes, yes, yeah. It's a business. And then, if you continuously keep the conflict, you've got the U.S. and the Americans. Yeah, that they're selling weapons, things like this, and everything. It's making money. You understand? And then when the Israelis buy the weapons, they make copies or they give the plans of these things, sell them to the Indians and other countries. It's a bigger business. It's going on. And then Israel can turn around and say to the Americans, and they'll visit churches and say, hey, look, we had a few thousand people kidnapped in 100 years. And look, and they'll show pictures of a few thousand. Yes. But they're not going to show that they kidnapped 2 million people, sexually abused, millions of people. Yeah, don't forget the break-ins into the houses and the other things. We'll go through that and show what they do when they're breaking into houses. Yeah, kidnapping is a big business. It's a big business. Yeah, the Palestinians are poor. Yeah, on average, what do you call it? Yes, their salaries are up to a quarter or up to a half on the side of the other side, on the Israeli side. So let's go to Save the Children. They're famous in Europe and America. Save the Children. The impact of Israeli, they call it military detention, but it's kidnapping, sexual abuse, threats of violence as well as violence. You understand? So the thing is, all these people who are protesting, they've got to make another approach. In 100 years, or since Israel formed, it's not changed a thing. So now let's see, as I showed, many of these soldiers and the Talmud is spreading. Let's have a look what the Talmud is. Yes? Right. I've just sent you a picture, and that shows you what do you call it? Some of the teachings in the Talmud. This is from the European Union Times. Yes. So this is common news. It shows in the Talmud. It says Jews may steal from non-Jews. If a Jew finds an object from a non-Jew, it does not have to be returned. Now, many Palestinians have said that their houses, if there's valuables, cash, gold, or other things, it's being stolen by the soldiers. Yes, many people are being beat up and things like this. There's Ishak Rabin, the prime minister of Israel, actually, before he became prime minister, or at one time he turned and said, break their bones, beat them up, things like this. So this thousands of beatings, hundreds of thousands of beatings, over 1 million. So we're talking, if there's 5 million Arabs there, or 6 million, or 4 million, whereas half the people, you could say, has been kidnapped, and we're talking thousands have been sexually abused. But anyway, this is very important. This is in Tel Aviv, yes, and there's there's many Jewish people. Yes, Jewish people. This is very important because I've been to Israel. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a nice place. The people are very kind, many of them. Yes, and I've spoken to soldiers who refuse to serve in the West Bank or in Gaza. So not all soldiers are involved. Yes, who refuse to serve on night duty, breaking into houses. Many Israelis have refused to even join the army, and we see Israelis, who are opposed to these things. So there's thousands of them. Yes, hundreds of thousands of Israelis are actually against what's going on. Yes, But of course, Yes, there's many Israelis who are saying expel the Arabs and other things. They're being brainwashed by the people at the top. So the conflict is caused by the people at the top. The last video shows it. My book shows it. The mathematics shows. The mathematics, yes, somebody turned around and said, wrote a comment, I call it pathetic and stupid, that they've turned around and said, hey, the people at the New World Order are 100 years ahead. If I, David, know these things, it means I'm 100 years ahead, and so can the people be 100 years ahead. Yes, that Palestine is actually Polishstein, it's Poland. But who invented that? We'll go through that in a minute. Yes, who invented all of these things? Why did they put the Jews at the center of the conflict in Europe? What happened? Who caused all these problems? Yes, so the Talmud has disgusting things, but there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of Israelis who have got nothing to do with this. And there's hundreds of thousands of Jews all around the world who've got nothing to do with this, and they're opposed to it, and they're disgusted by what's going on. Yes, so the thing is, I don't want anybody to label anybody. Yes, what's going on. Yes, but the things that are happening are ridiculous. Here now, this is back to the Talmud. This is from evangelical websites. The Talmud exposed. When a Jew murders a Gentile, there will be no death penalty. Yes, there's so many Palestinians being murdered. Yes, it's a murder. Yes, they're going to turn around and say he was defending himself. That child was a terrorist. Yes, he's only 7 years old, but he's got laser eyes like Superman. The soldier was terrified for his life. Yes. So these things are mentioned in the Talmud, and then some people will say, are they really there? They can check online, and they can open it. Here is from the Talmud Sanhedrin, or Sanhedrin, however you want to pronounce it, 57a. Yes. Yes. What he does, a Jew, what he does to a non-Jew, it is permitted. Some of these things, you understand? So the thing is, people can read it themselves. They can watch it on their laptop or their TV screen in big, so that people can read the evidence for themselves. Here's another page that goes to it, 57a, and it turns around and says, with regard to bloodshed, if a Gentile murders another Gentile, or a Gentile murders a Jew, he is liable. If a Jew murders a Gentile, he is exempt. Yes, these are the opinions written in this book, and many people will say these books were written by the Jewish people. Who said this book was written by the Jewish people? Here is it's here. Here is another one. That a Jew can steal from a non-Jew, things like this. So these things are written there, and many ordinary Jewish people in Israel, they know these things. Many of them don't. Yes. Here it shows if there's many people who've worked in for Jewish people and things like this, and they're not getting paid and things like this. So the thing is, and there's lots of problems with this, saying if he wants to pay him less, withhold his wages, everything. So there's things like this. Now, when it comes to children, these kids are being arrested and they've said they've been sexually abused. It turns around and says here, what do you call it? Um, um, at the bottom two lines, people can read it. The Torah does not deem the intercourse of a child who is less than 3 years old, etc. It's talking, does not deem a younger boy to be like an older boy. Yes, because an older boy is a man, and that's classified as homosexuality, which is banned. But a young child, yes, is not classified as a man. Yes, you understand? So, a young child who is not a man. Yes, so it's not being homosexual. So now the thing is, there's many books, many documentaries, and many things in the European Union, in the United States about anti-Semitism in Poland. And the thing is, what do you call it? Um, who did this? The people in power spread the rumors and the stories whereby the Jewish people were blamed for the failure of Europe and for the failure of Poland, as things like this. Yeah, and if many people don't know, Poland, Lithuania was actually the center of Europe. Poland, center of Europe geographically. Yes, many people don't know this. The geographical midpoints of Europe are actually, there's 2 points, one's in Poland and one's in Lithuania, depending on how you measure it. Yes, so who is it that made sure that the Jewish people ended up there? Was this a coincidence, or was this, planned on purpose by the people in power to actually cause conflict in Europe? Yes. So there you go. This is shows Poland and the main midpoint. It's right in the middle. Same like Israel is in the middle of the Middle East, which is no coincidence. Yes. Some of the people will try to say it's in Ukraine or Slovakia and things like this, but it's basically what do you call it, in the area of around Poland and Lithuania. I'm sending you a map that shows that the round area, and this is where Poland, Lithuania, Ukraine, and you'll see this is like the geographical center. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
so it's no accident. Somebody made sure that the Jewish people were there on purpose. We can't find them there before the 17th century. Yes, and how did the population increase? Yes, and the thing is, I don't want to talk about it, but the thing is, there was it was well-known stories and many things that Jews were blamed for children who disappeared all over Europe.
Right.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
for many other things. Yes. So the thing is, the Palestinians are children have been examined, and the women have been examined, and there's mass wide-scale sexual assaults that are going on. We're talking, you know, 2 million people have been kidnapped. Yes, and what do you call it? Yes. So it is a question what happened in Europe, because there was Jewish persecution and the Jews were blamed for this. So now the thing is, because the 19th century was in the past, we can't find these people, they're dead, but the Arabs are alive right now. You see? So the Jewish state, it mentions History Channel that emerged in 19th century Europe in Poland. Polishstein. Yes? You read it? History Channel? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And then it moved. So the thing is, let's go through the Talmud and a bit more, and a bit more about Jewish history. And what do we find? Yeah, during the early half of the 19th century, the first modern Jewish historians, Isaac Marcus Jost and Leopold Junst, yeah, they regard the Old Testament as a theological work of Jewish communities after the destruction. So it's more recent, the Jewish communities. This is the 19th century Jewish historians. It was not until the second half of the century that others developed a national vision of the Bible. Yeah, that means that they didn't consider the history of the Bible had something to do with them, that it became a national vision for the Jews in Europe, in Poland, and things like this, only in the late 19th century. Yes, and the constant repetition by Zionist historians, yeah, what do you call it? Or now it's the biblical history since only in the last 100 years, 150 years, have become biblical truths. Yes, or nobody even knew half these stories. And Fomenko has shown that the Old Testament was written after the New Testament, and it was written recently. And I've gone through this in my books. Now, if people don't read my books, then I can't do anything about this. Yes, so it means the Bible is not old. And the thing is, we can't find this history. Yes, you'll find it in my book, Jesus Christ, The Last Crusade, and in Jerusalem is in Europe. Yes, if you read these books, you will be able to understand it more. Um, if you haven't read it, then just don't make some crazy comment or something. Please study something yourself first. Yes. So now the thing is, there's a Jewish professor. Well, his origin is Jewish, but now he may be an atheist. He's from France. He's very famous. His name is Professor Henry Atlan. Yes, and he's even explained this, showing that what do you call it? That Judaism was created after Christianity and Islam. Yes, who created it after? So these things are not a joke. And so, who were the Jews before these people? So then, what do you call it? Yes, Professor Anatoly Fomenko in my books explains this. That in my book, The Matrix Codes, yes, Professor Anatoly Fomenko explains this, that the word Jew actually just simply referred to the priestly class in Christianity or in Islam. Yes, and before the creation of Judaism. This is in my book, what do you call it? Matrix Codes. And the thing is, these people were the Jews. You see here, the priestly class wearing the kippah. You see? So now the thing is, let's have a look at the origins of the Talmud. Yes, was it from the Jewish people? Because many people are going to say it's in their religion. Who said it's in their religion and invented all of these things? Is this history true? Yes. So we see the Jews of the Middle Ages. Here they are. It's the priests. So then what they did was they gave this title to new people only in the 17th, 18th century so that they can hide their crimes. Everyone knows the sexual abuses and the murders and the drinking blood and everything during the Inquisitions in Germany, the Inquisitions in other places. These things are described in my book, The Last Crusade. If you don't read it, then, I can't go through it here. So now the Pope, who printed the Talmud, Pope Leo, yes, and the Farnese family, these people were involved. They produced the first printed Talmud. So now, where did they produce this from? Yes. So what do you call it? Yes, it was 500 years ago. But if we remove the 100 years of Napoleon that we can't find, it's about 400 years ago. The Talmud only appears in printed form about 300-400 years ago. Yes, about 300-400 years ago, because it looks like they're lying too about the printed Talmuds, the translations in Italian, because the Italian language, we can't seem to find it till the 19th century, nor can we find the English language until the 19th century. So it looks like it's only about 300-400 years old. So it was the Pope, yes, who approved this Talmud, yes, not the Jewish people, yes. And what do you call it? Yes. And where are we going to find these Talmuds? Of course, we're going to find these old Talmuds, in places linked with Christianity, in Christian archives or in the Vatican archives. Yes. So the Pope and these other people, they're printing the Talmud and other Jewish books like the Gemara and other things, Maimonides. Yes, and the Mishnah, and they're printing the Old Testament. So what do you call it? Yes. So, and the Pope was ruling Italy. They invaded, from what it looks like, invaded as a desperation because they got thrown out of Egypt by what do you call it? The Germanic Ottomans. Yes, under Fatih Sultan Mehmet, it looks like, from what Professor Fomenko showed. Now, many people have started to declare Mehmet II is the Prophet Muhammad. No, because they invented the history, and there's also Muhammad Genghis Khan and Ulu Beg Muhammad, and they've duplicated and invented lies into the history of the Prophet Muhammad. So that's why I am not declaring that Fatih Sultan Mehmed II is the Prophet Muhammad, but he's a reflection, and they've invented this character. Yes, based on true actual history. So now you found this discovery of a hidden treasure. Yes, other cities in Italy, they printed the Talmud. Yes, and in Italy, and virtually all the copies of the Talmud in Italy, manuscripts in print. Basically, you'll find them, Talmuds and all these other things in Italy, then and in other printing centers that the Vatican controls. Yes. So now the thing is, how do we know that the dating is fake of the Talmud? Yeah, they've invented it. When was the first Talmud printed? Babylon as well. Babylon is Cairo. I explained this before, where the Vatican came from. When was it printed, Raphael?
It says 16th century.
The new, read what date?
Right, between
15 what?
1519. Mm-hmm.
There you go. There you go. 19. Yes. So that's how we know that they've invented the fake dates. So what do you call it? Then they're going to say that the Talmud spread to what do you call it? Antwerp. Yes. Um, because they'll say the printer came from Antwerp and then he went to Venice. But the Jesuits and the Vatican were already in Holland and in Belgium and everywhere. We know about the Inquisitions in Holland. It was not just in Spain. Yes. And how did he, what do you call it? Yes. This man here, Daniel Bloomberg, print this Talmud. He was like the main guy. Yes, and in contract to the Vatican. Yes, by the order of the Vatican, he starts printing the Talmud and other Hebrew books. He was a Christian Hebraist. Yeah, in other words, when this Hebrew's coming out, because of the 100 years, this should be the 17th century, not the 16th century, who employed rabbis and scholars. They were his workers. Imagine you're working in the 16th, 17th century for the Vatican and their printers. Yes, imagine this. Are you beginning to see who
Mm-hmm.
invented the Talmud? Was it the Jewish people? Does it look like it?
No.
The evidence shows that it was the Vatican who invented this book. So how did this book enter the Jewish people? Yes. So now when we have a look at it, yes, mysteriously, 20 years after the Talmud is printed, or like the first copy in 1521, when it's like the first individual one is printed, 19 years later, a group forms called the Jesuits. And many people have noticed that, what do you call it? Yes, that the Jesuit oaths and many of their systems, yes, were similar to Talmudic style. Yes, yes. Um, so the thing is, this is very important information. Yes. So then the Jesuits were formed. What do you call it? By Ignatius Loyola, and I've said this before, but the thing is, this is very important because we need to know where these Jewish people came from in Poland. Yes. Um, yeah. Yeah. Where these Jewish people came to, came from in Poland. And I know that somebody turned around and said in a comment saying David's just making this up about Ignatius Loyola and the Jesuits, but the Jesuits were created because they were supposed to be the preachers to Islam. Yes, the apostle to the Muslims. Yes. So the thing is, their aim and objective was to convert the Muslims, whoever these people were at that time, and they formed in Europe. Yes, yeah. Have you got that? Yes.
Yeah.
So the thing is, now the thing is, so if the Talmud turned up in the 16th, 17th century, what about the manuscripts? Because these historians are claiming there's manuscripts there. Is there really, apart from the printed books? By the early Renaissance, we're talking 14th century, 15th is the earlier, the later is 16, 17. Yeah, in the 13th, 14th century, the Talmud was extinct. You can't find it. Basically, it didn't exist. They're going to say decaying manuscripts, people hated it, or the reality is it didn't exist until the Pope brought it out and it was printed. And they turn around and say there was Jewish rabbis there. They were just workers. I could become a rabbi, yeah, and just be working in one of their offices and helping them to write these
And
things so
even you
that they will.
explained initially that Arabi just means someone who can read or write, no?
Yeah, rabbi. Yes, and at that time it means master. Yes, it's an Arabic word. That's why in Europe we've got hundreds of millions of pages of Arabic books in Europe, which we can't seem to find in the Middle East. Yes, that's another thing. Yeah, we'll go through that next time. So what do you call it? Yes, through Bomberg, Pratensis sponsored with the blessing of the Pope, the publication of the Bomberg Talmud. So sometimes they say 1519. Here it says 1520, the finest edition of the Babylon Talmud in Western history. Yes, and what do you call it? This ensured the continuation and expansion of rabbinical Judaism. So, because we've got 100 years from Napoleon, so you could say 1620. Yes. So then the other thing is because 1519 is suspicious, and the thing is we can't seem to, there's not many Jews. They didn't turn up until the end of the 17th century and the 18th century. So we can say the project has just started to invent Judaism. They started the project to invent Judaism when the Vatican invaded Europe. Yes, and this not ensured the continuation and expansion of rabbinical Talmudic Judaism, they invented it. They invented it
Hmm.
and created it. Yes, and the Renaissance Pope of Rome, read the last two sentences.
The Renaissance Pope of Rome served as the father of a new birth, haha, Renaissance, of Talmudic Judaism.
Yes, they invented Judaism. Yes, Talmudic Judaism. If you remove the Talmudic Judaism, all you've just got is the Bible, the Old Testament. Yes, and then what are we hearing about during the Renaissance Inquisitions and all this in Europe? What the Pope and their armies were doing to the women? Inquisition trials. They were abusing women. They were kidnapping women. Oh, they are going to call it arrest. They were what do you call it? Sexually abusing children, things like this. This is what we're seeing in Israel right now. Yes. Can you see it?
Yes, I wasn't
Yes.
aware this happened in Italy. This is Italy, no? Oh,
All
Luca.
over,
Hmm.
all over Europe, in Holland, everywhere. I'm giving an example. You see? Yes. It's not the Renaissance was throughout Europe, and the Vatican armies marched throughout Europe in contract with other people. They took over Paris and they named it after themselves. Faris, Farsi. Yes, the original Arabic Farsi, Prussia, yeah, Persia. Yes, and then it spread there. Yes. So what do you call it? Even with Leonardo da Vinci, all these artists, and people are saying, what about these sexual statues throughout Italy, which is famous for? Yes, you've seen some of these things. Yes, sexual statues in Italy. You know, yes. So the thing is, all these artists, Renaissance artists, had a lot to with the Vatican, and we even see pedophilia. Yes, I don't like talking about it. About the children in these statues and other things. There's even with animals and other things, and that's why the Talmud even talks about these subjects. You know, about sexual activity with animals and things like this. So the Talmud came from the Vatican, from Italy. Yes, it was their thing, and the thing is, it's so disgusting. I don't want to share it. Many people have seen it online. Where the children and things like this are in sexual statues throughout Italy, and then in the bordering regions. As the Vatican army spread, they had their what do you call it, invasion of Czechoslovakia. They call it the Crusades in Bohemia and things like this. The dating, of course, they've falsified it. Yes, and what do you call it? Yes. So the thing is, what do you call it? Many people have shown that what do you call it? What the Jesuits were doing and the order of their military organization and how they were spreading things, and it had a lot of similarities with the so-called moral teachings of the Talmud. Yes, and many people have documented this. In universities. So it's not just something that I'm making it up. So now let's have a look at this. What about the Jewish people who mysteriously turn up in Poland and all these other places? Yes, 200-300 years ago. Yes. So now let's have a look. Where did they all come from? Yeah, this is a very important thing. Now, mysteriously in Europe, yes, um, we've got the Pharaoh or Farnese of France, and then we've got Pharaoh's fort or Pharaoh, Pharaoh. Yes, this is explained in my books. If you haven't read them, you won't understand the Pharaoh and the Pharaoh. What do you call it? Yes, and then the French invasion of Russia. What they did was they what do you call it? They were kidnapping people. Yes, the French. They will call it Russia, but the French conquered Russia, and because they've given a false history, they're going to say the Romanovs were Russians in the late 17th century. Yes, for example, after this, we're talking 300,000 orphans, Jewish orphans. Let's check if they were Jewish. And they've sent them to a place called Pale of Settlement, Pale or Pole or Palestine, Pale, Pale. Are you beginning to see the origin of this word?
Hmm.
Yes. So now the thing is, there is a Pale of Settlement. Where was it? It was in that location, the center of Europe, right in the heart of Europe. They're sending all these people and they're saying, you're Jews, you must go there, especially from Russia. Yes. And that included, it was a wide area. The wide area like Greater Israel, Eretz Israel, yes, are saying is includes Iraq, Syria, Egypt. So the Pale of Settlement, the wide area, because eventually they put them into settlements and surrounded them, included Belarus, Moldova, Lithuania, Ukraine, East and Central Poland, and things like this. Yes? So they're sending them to this place called Pale or Palais. Yes? And what do you call it? Yes? And what was the language there? This gives it away. Yes? The language there, what do you call it, was Yiddish. Yes, and everyone knows Yiddish is a mixture of German and Slavic. So that means that they must have got hold of people and people in Germany and in Italy who were brought up, most probably orphans, because everything comes back down to orphans. That these children, and they took them from places, kidnapped them, killed their families, and they told them your parents were Jewish. Yes. So now the thing is, let's say 300,000 Jews. Yes, in what do you call it, in the 19th century. Yes, 300,000 Jews. Yes, in the 19th century were children. 300,000 children. So now let's have a look at the Russian army at that time, which was French, run and controlled by France. I'll go through this in a minute. It was not a Russian army. They're lying. Yes. The thing is, it was a French army. Same like it's not British or American or French. They're all together. Yes. So now, what were they doing? You can read this. What does this say?
Where should I read it from? The beginning or?
That's all. Yes.
All right, so there were also whole cartloads regularly trucked in by women known as commissionerki. These enterprising women collected
Business
unwanted,
women. Business women. Yes. Go ahead.
yeah, these enterprising women collected unwanted children in the villages and district towns, cared for them temporarily,
Nobody wants these kids. Ah,
yeah, usually in
sure.
squalid conditions, and then when enough had been gathered to make the journey profitable, they packed the infants into a wagon and hauled them to the metropolitan foundling home.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, wait a minute.
Fees for
Nobody
this,
wants these children.
yes, yeah.
Fees
Hmm.
for this service.
So basically collecting the orphans that were created.
Yes. Now the next sentence.
Fees for this service were substantial and reportedly provided the commissionerki with a comfortable living.
Not fees, sales. They were selling these kids.
Hmm.
So if you're making a money out of it, it's a business. So now the thing is, you can't just be a woman in them days and just go around. Yeah, there's no roads, proper things, and your woman isn't going to go on horses. It's like Afghanistan, Russia was at that time. It was so poor in the 19th century. So these women will be going with armed security. They were kidnapping children. They were killing their families. Yes, and they were selling the children. So what happened? Next paragraph.
Once the children arrived at the home, they were processed. Each one received an identifying number, a
That's
medical
it.
examination.
Yes.
That's, of course, another benefit if for any reason the population you have orphaned wasn't registered properly before, or they were resisting it. Of course, now you get their children inside the matrix for sure.
Yes. So, but the main thing is, look at this. It's a business. They're processing them, and they don't give them a name. It's a number. He's number 48. Yes. Send 56 to the United States. Send 48 to Moscow, and send 32 to do mining, or send all the numbers. What do you call it? From 50 to the number 60. Send them to the Pale Settlement. Oh, just say they were Jews. Yes. So now, even Jewish people will say that they were Jews or they were orphans. We don't know who their parents were. They were kids. We don't know if they were Jewish or not. So now these children have been sent over there. 300,000 children. 300,000. Yes. And when they were given a Jewish education in a yeshiva. Yeshiva just means Jewish school. So let's examine these Jewish yeshivas. So now these people, when they grew up, yes, they intermarried, and at that time they're having 7, 8 children. So the population grew to millions. You see? Are you beginning to see what happened?
Hmm.
Now, yes. So I want you to try and guess now. How do you know? Now, I want you to think now. These what do you call it? Yes, here is an example of the people in what do you call it? Eastern Europe 100 years ago. Do they look like Christians or Jews to you?
No.
No, no. I'm not going to lie. And then we've got these children who are coming. Yes, and the thing is, they've been kidnapped here. How do you? I want you to tell me which. I'll give you the answer in a minute. Which one of these is Muslim? Which one's Jewish? And which one's Christian?
Well, there would be no way to tell, really.
It's impossible. Yes. Now the young girl is wearing a scarf. Yes, so it means that they came from these parents in the first picture above. Yes, that the parents they look like Muslims. Well, we'll go through that in a minute. That it looks like Europe was a Muslim civilization. This is what the evidence shows. So you cannot see. I said I'll tell you in a minute. The truth is, I don't know either. It's impossible to know. So now the thing is, they gave them numbers, they sent them here and there. Businessmen sent them to America, here, there, everywhere, and for mining and everything. So now many of these children could still remember their parent and they kept the culture. Yes, they still kept the culture. That's why we can still find this culture in the 1930s and 40s in Europe. Yes, in Germany and in other places, we can still find it. That the children were still wearing these things only when they went to school in the 50s and 60s. Actually, in Europe, they forced people to remove the headscarves. Many people don't know
You know
this.
that even today there is always these contentious topics, I think even in Austria, about whether or not to allow headscarves in schools. Of course, now it's about officially about different things,
Ah,
but it's still the
yes,
same thing about the headscarf, yeah?
yeah. The thing is, you have to remember. The thing is, if anyone looks at the history of Islam, Islam was defeated at that time in Europe. So and the evidence shows the Germanic people they were Muslims. The Germans were defeated. Yes, the French people. The evidence shows they were Muslims. The Dutch people, the English, they were all Muslims. The evidence shows they were defeated. The Americans, the evidence shows the Quran is everywhere in America. Hundreds of millions of pages of Arabic books in most of the cities in America, in the museums. No one knows how they got there. Yes, it seemed like saying, I'm going to go to Iraq today and tell them, hey, give me your old Quran manuscripts, everything. Yeah, sure. And we've got these hundreds of millions of Arabic books and pages throughout
And
Europe and
again,
everything.
just to
It's
make the
just,
connection, could this be related to the idea, at least from what I heard, that in church you're at least supposed to take off your head covering?
um, that's another, it depends which church.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's not divert. But anyway, let's have a look at looking at the people in Poland, in Germany, in Ukraine, in Russia, and we're finding something really crazy here. That somebody's destroyed the husbands and everything. That the thing is, something is really going on here. Yes, the thing is that somebody's destroyed their civilization, and the thing is, I don't see any evidence that these people were Christians or Jews. Let me just give you an example of what these so-called orphans look like. Yes, there's no way they would have even known what the word Muslim means or Jew or Christian. Yeah, they were just taken, given a re-education. They were sent to Jewish yeshivas, Orthodox Jewish schools, Protestant schools, many of them shipped to Australia, England, Argentina. They sent them all over the world. Yes, Tartaria was that last global civilization, the name to many people. So as we can see, they just took them. We don't know what they did, but basically they destroyed an entire civilization. Like whatever we're looking at, when we look at Ukraine, Poland, and all these places, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Russia, Finland, it's just a joke that I cannot see a Christian or a Jewish civilization here. So now, many Jewish women did cover their hair at the time, but let's have a look at why. Yes, now I'm going to show you something. Yes, and you're going to see something that these people in the Pale settlement, why don't they look like Orthodox Jews? Now, here is a photograph showing from around 100 130 years ago. Yes, and what do you call it? These people are supposed to be Jews. Yes, we cannot see any evidence that any of the men or anything have got this Jewish hair or anything to do with the Talmud or anything. Basically, there were people from Germany and from Russia, and they're being sent to this place. That even the style of the beard on the man, yeah, it just looks like the way the Muslims do the beard, not the way that Jewish people do it. This is very important information. Yes, because Jewish, Christian, and Muslim beards actually look the same, even in the early 20th century. So now let's have a look at, they sent these orphans. The majority were orphans. We don't know if they were Jews or not, or Christians or Muslims, but the evidence shows there's something to do with Islam. Yes, so now let's have a look at what happened to these children. Yes, in this Palestine or Pale settlement. Yeah, prior to the Pale, schools to study the Talmud were a luxury. There was only a few places like in Frankfurt or in other states in Germany. Germany wasn't one country. That what do you call it? That it was divided. Same like the Balkans, same like the provinces that the Turks ruled. Like they say, Egypt was part of the Turks, but really it was divided. Yes, there's another thing. It's because what their ruling system was totally different from what we have today. This began to change after that rabbi I mentioned before, I think, or somebody linked to that rabbi, the rabbi of Volozhin. He began a national level yeshiva. Yeah, means Talmud schools. So let's have a look at what happened, the reality. Yeah, the reality is this. What he did is in 1803, he founded the Volozhin Yeshiva and began to attract a large number of students from around the Pale. Of course, you're going to get students. They're orphans, for God's sake. Yes, so of course, yes. Then, of course, they turn around and say, what do you call it? When the policies changed, 80 years later, like this, that the Tsarist authorities wanted to make it a bit more secular. There was no Tsarist authorities, it's the French. Same like the French did this with the Alliance Israelite schools in Morocco and in other places. Yes, so what do you call it? Yes, let's have a look at what is a yeshiva. Many people don't know. Yes, it's just a Jewish school. Yes, a yeshiva, and what they do is they're studying the Talmud and other things, rabbinical literature. Yes, so the thing is, they're studying all these books that the Vatican has mysteriously printed. They found these ancient manuscripts that nobody else found. Nobody else seems to find them. The Vatican and the Pope and their allies. And what people do today, the system has continued in the Orthodox community. And as we saw in the US government website, it warns people about the Jewish Orthodox community. Yes, and many mainstream newspapers warn about it. Yes, so the thing is, this system of these schools started only in the 19th century. It started growing big after the 1860s. Yes, that the thing is, even in the United States, we can't find a single one of these Orthodox schools in the United States. That the first one First one opened in 1886. So what do you call it? Modeled after the one of the Rabbi of Vologin. Yes. So that means if the first one's in the 1886, it means the others were made later. You understand? Until it became bigger. You see?
Hmm.
So we can't find Orthodox Judaism until the 19th century. We can't find it. It didn't exist. Are you beginning to see what this is?
Hmm.
It shows it's a new religion. Orthodox Judaism didn't exist. You see, it's a new thing, 19th century, new religion that based on some books that the Vatican invented 300-400 years ago. Yes. So the thing is, many people will find it hard to believe, but the thing is, this religion didn't exist. Yes. So the thing is, we can see that there's a large proportion of the Orthodox Jews. This rabbi is famous, so I'll send this picture. He's famous around the world. Yes, many people don't like him. Yeah, because he's even met with anybody who doesn't like Israel. I think it's this one. Yeah, that yeah, the thing is, but the thing is, this style, this fashion from the yeshivas and everything started only in the 19th century. It didn't exist. Studying the Talmud or everything. Who organized this? Who was paying for this? Who printed these books? Are you beginning to see?
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. So now the thing is, we can continue investigating this thing. Of course, they've invented a lot of the history that that uh, but what we can see is in the 18th century, there's Rabbi Ginsburg, yeah, Asher Ginsburg, what do you call it? Yes, he founded, a basic yeshiva in Minsk. So there was a few here and there, yes, and what do you call it? Yes. And the Jews were persecuted, or these people who were studying the Talmud. So who was paying for these things? It's like you can't just open a school. Can you imagine if you're going to open a school? In them days, they're boarding schools. How are you going to pay for these things? You see? Yes. And so I mentioned Asher Ginsburg. It's because the Chaim of Volozhin, who opened the first, modern yeshiva system, yes, what do you call it? Yes, he was studying from Asher Ginsburg. Yes, he was studying from Asher Ginsburg. Yes. So now Asher Ginsburg, let's go back to him again. Is it him again? Let's see. Yes, and then he is in Lithuania. Yes, is it Lithuania? Let me just check that again. And then you're going to find this strange. He's in Lithuania, in Minsk. He's just opened a yeshiva, but he writes a book. Do you know how far away Lithuania is when there's no roads and there's horses? And his book is published in which city? Read the second to the bottom line.
Oh, in Frankfurt am Main. Hmm.
Yeah, in the city of Firan, the fort of Firan. Yes, or Pharaoh. Yes. So how can this be possible? It seemed like me saying I live in England and I've just got my book published in Greece or in Serbia. You see? So the thing is, and the Vatican controlled these things, and there were strict publishers that you'll get killed at that time if you're going to try to publish something they don't like. So you see, so then many people will turn around and say, okay, so the thing is they're publishing them over there, and there was some yeshivas in Germany. Yes, who set them up? There's a few other things. So here is another one. He's educated in Minsk and everything, and then he went to Berlin to publish his book. You see? So there's these things that are suspicious. This is Raphael Cohen, and we can't even verify his history. You understand?
Hmm.
Yes, yeah, and the thing is, the majority of the Jews mysteriously turned up at the Pale settlement, and then they went more west into Poland because the French army or what we call Russian army, yes, things like this. Yes, so the thing is, and then the thing is, if somebody says no, there were Jews in Poland for centuries, we can't find this evidence, so that's why they turn around and say, what do you call it? Yes, what do you call it? In the 18th century, in the early 18th century, there was a, what do you call it, about Poland's remaining Jewish population was 15,000 Polish citizens, and they left the country or something. They can't seem to make their mind up. At one time, they'll say, hey, it was the biggest, smallest, this, that, everything. So the 17th century, it looks like that was the beginning from what we can see. And then, even in the Pale settlement, they've modified the history. Yes, the Russians closed it down. So many of these people went to Poland. Yes, when did they close it down? Or the Russians are the French. What date did they close this Pale settlement down?
August 19,
And
1915.
read the fourth word. The Pale what of?
The Pale of Settlement.
Yeah, and what are they fighting about in Israel? Jewish
Palestine.
settlement.
Or how do you mean? All
Settlement.
right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Settlement. Are you
Mm-hmm.
beginning to see?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So what do you call it? Yes. So now when we look at this, it's the same history repeating itself. They're using the exact same process. That Israel was small, it's grown bigger 20 years later, then another 20 years later, or 19 years later, formed in 1948. 19 years later, it grows bigger, then another 19 years, it grows a bit bigger. So the thing is, at the outbreak of World War One in this pale settlement in that region, how many what do you call it, settlements is there now? 300 estimates. Yes? Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
The Jewish Virtual Library. And don't forget, we've just got 300,000 children who came, in the 19th century. They've grown up, they've married, they've had children. You see, are you beginning to see? It's a totally new invention, and these people, they don't know their ancestors were not Jewish. There is no evidence that they were Jewish. You understand? And of course, people went outside there. Yeah, same like what do you call it? Israel is making deals now with the rest of the Middle East, and there could be a bit of calm for 20, 30 years, then fighting again, then calm again, then fighting again. So what do you call it? Jewish settlements grew in the area. Same like now, there's Jewish settlements in the Golan, yeah, which Syria says it's there. So what do you call it? Um, Jewish settlements tried to grow outside that area, but they were prohibited. Same like there's many people who want Eretz Israel or Greater Israel, but they weren't allowed. Yes, yeah. And then the thing is, what do you call it? Yes. So mysteriously in the 19th century, and we don't find it before the 19th century. Yes, the Jews were redefined as members of a religious community. You see, it became like a religious
Mm-hmm.
community. So many of these children are opening up. So now, if we look at the history of Germany and the Jews in Germany, and these are the places, it's a bit long, so I'm going to cut it short, then we can cut it off. It shows that, what do you call it? Yes, they were having problems in the mass migration of the Jewish population to Prussia proper. Don't forget, Prussia ruled Poland at the time, parts of Poland. Can you see it in the fifth line? Yes, on the fifth line down in 1831 of a law permitting Jewish naturalization, that there was some Jewish yeshivas in Germany, yes, or Prussia, yes, named after Parissa, or after the city of Paris or Persia, yes, where all this Arabic writing is from. So they went east, yes, especially to Berlin, and then from there later they went to Poland. So Poland was Polishstein or Palestine. In the larger territories of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, many people call it there, or part of, the Russian Empire. Yes, what do you call it? Yes, it became known as the Pale of Settlement. That's where the word Polish came from. Now the thing is, if you study official history, yeah, if you study official history, you'll find that they've invented a history, and they'll say the word Poland or Polish comes from a tribe, yes, in the Dark Ages. Yes, it says there in the 6th century. That's what they say. Yes, that's what they say there. But then, yeah, that's the same Wikipedia. Then when we open another page in Wikipedia, don't forget Wikipedia now is basically official history, even though people deny it. And these people control it, the people in power. They'll say the origin of the name Poland, what do you call it? Yes, from the Proto-Slavic. It may derive from the word Pole or pale. They don't even know. May means, I could say, maybe derived from, the planet Mars. Yes, I can say the same thing. Yes. So the thing is, they don't even know. Then sometimes they will say that the name came from the word land of the fields. because they can't even decide where it came from. They can't decide. Yeah, but the reality is it came from the name Paul or Saint Paul or Baal, or you'll see it in a minute. Yes, that the Arabic word for Satan, yes, yeah, yeah, is actually called Balis or Polis. Yes, and that's why we say Satan bliss or bless you. Yes, and the thing is, we say these things. So the thing is, according to the Quran, the name of Satan is Iblis. Yes. Um, some people just pronounce it bliss because there's different Arabic pronunciations of balis, and that's where the name police came from. Also, it's a long story. I'll go into that into a minute because they used this project to actually take over Europe and then bring about their what do you call it, European Union. Yes, that's what all these wars were about and everything. So in this area known as the Pale or Palestine or Polishstein, yes, is after they set up these schools, they started setting up Jewish courts and things like this. And what do you call it? Yes, they even had their armies and everything. You know what I mean? Yes, different divisions like there's IDF, there's Mossad, this and that. So the thing is, it established itself. Basically, it was a state. Yes. And what do you call it? Yes. So the thing is, most of the world's Jews spoke Arabic until the 17th, 18th century. But now, mysteriously, yes, this is very important. After the 18th century, what we have here is that, what do you call it? They'll say 16th century, and they'll say scholars suggest. I can suggest, it was a million years ago. Yeah, because they've added on 100 extra years. So it means after the 17th century, 80% of all Jews worldwide lived in Poland, and they had their autonomous states. Yes? Yeah, and the 100-year era in the timeline or the fake Napoleons, yeah, they have to read the books. Now, this is very important because the Napoleon book, if you don't read it, you won't understand. Now, it is well known. Everybody knows this. All the elite, all the military generals of the Tsarist Empire in the 19th century, all of them spoke French. They spoke French as if it's their native language. It's their first language. Actually, they were French, but or the followers of Firaun. They were French. So the French invaded Russia. But what was Russia at that time? Tartaria. That's where we're coming from. Yes, Tartaria. Now, many people um, talk about it, and the thing is, they slowly took over. It was the French who took over. Now, that's the thing that people don't understand. So the thing is, they took over. They totally destroyed the country, destroyed the men, everything, and we can see that it's a Muslim civilization. The women look like Muslim, everything. They were kidnapping the people, sending them to the West to populate America, Canada, everything. Yes, yes. And the thing is, many people deny it and they don't want to talk about it. Yes, but what do you call it? Yes, what do you call it? Yes, yeah. The thing is, it is known that the Tatars have no other religion, but they were actually Muslims. Yes, and the thing is, they came from a place called Hazan or Hazar or Hazaria. Yes, and the thing is, they were Muslims. So the story of the Khazars is a total lie. Yes,
Hmm.
that today most Kazan tratters are Khazar. Yes, in Hazaria. Yes, they what is known as Hazaria or these places. They're all Muslims. Yes, so the Tatars are actually Muslims. Yes. So the thing is, in the maps we see there was the civilization Tartaria, and the thing is, the French have invaded. They never left. That is why, yes, all the Russian generals, all the elites, everybody spoke French. It was actually French, yeah, a different division. So now the French, let's go back there, are attacking the Tatars in Russia. They're taking land. They're going east. They're separating men, women, children. They're killing the men. Some of the children, they're sending them to Polishstein or the Pale settlement, and they're being taught this new religion by the Firaun or the Vatican, and they're learning Judaism in the 19th century. The others are being sent to Orthodox schools. You see? Or the invention of the Orthodox religion. That's why Fomenko says before the 18th century, the Orthodox religion and Islam was one religion. Yes? And in this religion, we can see they all, and many of the young children who were Jewish, they kept the Islamic prayer system. That's why the Jewish prayer system, what do you call it, is the same as the Muslims. Yes? Basically the same. So many Muslims are saying, hey, that the hadith and the history invented the prayer system. No, it didn't. I'll go through that next time. And it didn't come from Zoroastrianism. All this history is a lie. So now the French, on one side, yes, it's the French Russians. The French control it. They've got, you know, Russian or Tatar men, yeah, who were children who they kidnapped, and when they grew up, they became soldiers. Yes, same like the Arab Legion, yes, invaded Israel, and it was the British. So now we've got the Russian Legion that's attacking Tartaria and sending all these children to Orthodox Christian schools and to Orthodox Jewish schools. Yes, in the Pale settlement, but it's the French. They are French. Are you beginning to see now?
Hmm.
Is world history becoming a bit more easier? Now from the West, from Paris, what we've got is 1860 because they're lying about the dates, and the Napoleon thing is messed up. So in the 19th century, at that time, they set up the Alliance Israelite Ecole Universal. Yes, and what they're doing is opening up these yeshiva type of schools in Morocco, in Algeria, in Tunisia, in Egypt, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Iran, in India. Yes, they're opening up them in the other side to invent the Sephardi and the Mizrahi Jews. They're actually inventing these people. Yes, so they invented Judaism. Yes, and if some people are going to say there's nothing wrong with the dates, yes, there is. My book Napoleon doesn't exist goes more into the numbers. It's not just the number 19. There's more. Yes, and then the thing is, many people try to deny it, but there's something wrong. You have to read my books, and then you'll find it that we've got the entire Eastern Europe in this so-called Palestine and Pale settlements, and what we've got, the entire territory of Russia and Eastern Europe has got nothing but Arabic coins before the 17th century. Yes, or they're going to say they're from the before the 10th century. Even if it's before the 10th century, we've got a problem. They're all Arabic coins. So if they're all Arabic coins, this raises the new question. Yes, if they're all Arabic coins, all these so-called Jews, yes, Ashkenazi Jews, yes, and all these so-called Orthodox Christians, what was their religion? These coins turn around and say there is no God but Allah. Yes, La ilaha illallah in Islam. Yes, yeah. So they've got this on, and they're all over. It's actually the number one coins that you're going to find. Yes, this is an example of some of the coins. I'm just going to show an example. Yes, these dirhams are found all over, all the way up to the North Pole. That it just doesn't make sense. That what do you call it? It just doesn't make sense that, like last time we discussed, what are all these Islamic manuscripts doing in Dublin? Yes, before the 18th century, before the British, totally destroyed everything. Yeah, so here is an example of these coins that says there is no God but Allah. Yes, they're all over Eastern Europe in the so-called Jewish settlements where the parents were killed and the children are orphans. This is, example of coins from Dublin in Ireland. Or they're going to say it came from Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, or Pakistan, some with their garbage history. Yeah, in the Dark Ages or something, but it's just garbage. So what is going on when we've got all these people? So now let's compare them. Yes, let's compare these people again. So now we'll compare them. Here we've got what you call it, Arab women, or if you want to call them Palestinian. Palestinian is the wrong name. It's not their name. They're the women of Quds or Qudus. When we look at them, they look just the same like the women that we're seeing in Europe 100 years ago. So all these Israeli soldiers who are abusing and attacking these women, they should know that their own grandmothers were the same people. They had the same coins. They are their own ancestors. And many of them, they can't even find the genealogy. Invented genealogy books by the Vatican, printed in Germany and in Italy, in the Germany princely states that the Vatican controlled. Yes, the first one is Palestinian women. Now let's have a look at these women who are so-called Orthodox or Jewish women. Yes. So the thing is, what is going on? And the thing is, if somebody says I'm making it up, what's happening to the women? Here we are. Yeah, these women here, they are Palestinian women and Israeli soldiers. Making them, totally naked, saying, "Hey, we're looking for, in case, you've got a missile or a rocket launcher." And even in Israel, they can't hide it. It's so widespread what they're doing. What do you call it? This is from the times of Israel. Yes, of course, they report it only a few times, a year or something, but it's widespread. It's happening all the time. Yes, they've kidnapped thousands of people. I mean, what sort of an army or what sort of a people is this? And here is Palestinian women. And let's have a look at so-called pictures of Jewish or Slavic or Germanic women, 100 years ago. What is the difference? You tell me. Now, if these people, yes, who call themselves, Israeli or Palestinian or something, yes, or Israeli soldiers or Druze soldiers or whatever, yeah, imagine if they were there 150 years ago and they met their ancestors. What is the difference? These people, they look like Muslims clearly to anybody. They clearly look like Muslims to anybody. That it's just a lie and a scam. Yes, and the thing is, in Poland, yes, they're going to turn out and say Palestine. Yeah, here's a picture of the women in Poland. Yeah, that we see this, in Poland, in Germany. Um, Look at this. Here is I think these ones are Christian this time. It doesn't matter if they're Christian or Jewish or Catholic or whatever. Yes, but the thing is, we can clearly see that what do you call it? Yes, it's the same people. Yes, can you see it?
Right.
It's the same religion. Now the thing is, some people will say, "Oh, David, what are you talking about? The Europeans were Muslims." Yes, that's what the evidence shows. The evidence shows that Europe was Muslim just 300 years ago. They invented the state Palestine. Then, when they achieved their agenda, they kidnapped people and they turned them into Jews. Everyone knows that right now that half the people in Israel aren't Jewish. What happened is, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, yes, many people from Ukraine and Russia just said, "Hey, I'm Jewish," economic migrants. Even right now, it's a forgery of what's going on. What do you call it? Yes, what you will see is, what do you call it? You will think it's one of the biggest forgeries in the world. Let me just show you, and you're going to think, what do you call it? Yes, that what you will see is that there's people who are going to Nigeria from America and from other places. They're actually going there, and you will be surprised that they're preparing the future. Yes, what they're doing is they're finding poor people. They don't need to be orphans. There's many people who are poor, and what they're doing is they're printing Talmuds and everything. Like you can see it themselves yourselves that in 50 years' time we're going to have a Jewish community in Nigeria. These people have mysteriously been Jews for thousands of years. Yes, you see, they're training them, they're printing these books, God knows where, Europe, America, or Israel. Yes, and the thing is, many of these people, I'll have to go through it next time, that, what do you call it, many of these people, what do you call it, let me just show you what they looked like 100 years ago. Yes, and then the thing is, when you look at them 100 years ago and then consider it, but today, what do you call it, as the economy changed, and it's a long story, this, yes, they've mysteriously become, what do you call it, lost Jews of Nigeria. Yes, there's other things that if you, I'll have to go through this next time. It's they're preparing to bring more and more people into the Middle East. Yes, this is an example. I'm just giving a basic example. It's not exact because I'll have to prepare this for another thing. But this conflict is not going. They're preparing the next generation for violence. They're preparing more people in China, in Indonesia, Indonesian Jews. I'm being serious. African Jews and other things. So what they did is what do you call it? Yeah, yeah. What they did was you can go to the South African people who've gone there after apartheid, after Nelson Mandela, because they don't want to live with black people. Um, they don't want to live with black people, so many of them went to the West Bank. Yeah, and things like this. So even right now, what we've got is many people who are leaving Ukraine. What do you call it? Economic migrants, and you will see that what do you call it? There's Jewish organizations who are going to what do you call it? Yes, to Ukraine, and there are many people who have no knowledge whatsoever, who don't know anything, what do you call it? Yes, who don't know anything about Judaism, and people are telling us they picked them up from orphanages, but many people know it's a scam, and they're telling us we know that these people are Jewish orphans. It's the same story. Yes, hundreds of children rescued from Ukrainian orphanages. Yes, what do you call it? By Jewish organizations. Yes, so the thing is, there's no evidence for this that they'll turn around and say, "Oh, we found that one of his grandparents, 100 years ago, was Jewish." They didn't even have birth certificates. In World War II, Eastern Europe was a joke. Yes, NKVD. Have you heard of them?
I believe so.
Yes, and there were like some terrorist or whatever, or maybe it's officially a communist, whatever, and they were doing atrocities. Yeah, it was like Eastern Europe was just a total joke. Of course, there's going to be many people spreading propaganda that what do you call it? The Jews were behind communism. No, it was the French and the Vatican. That's what the evidence shows, because the elites in Russia were actually speaking French. This is what many people don't understand. But the thing is, the NKVD, communists and things like this, they were massacring people and things like this. So the thing is, where is the evidence that their grandparents were Jewish? We can't even find their grandparents. Somebody's just written a piece of paper and they're going to say, this is, from the 1980s. Yes, there's a record here that he was Jewish. Maybe they put these records there, same like the British put many of these fake Islamic history books in these museums. The British Army was there and everything. There's many people turning around and saying many things. Yeah, why don't they just go and do research themselves? So now the final point I'm going to make is this. It's up to the people. The people have to come together. Yeah, it's a sad story what happened to the Jewish people. Yes, what was organized by the French, the British, the Russians, and the Vatican. And the evidence shows that they were from Khazars and Kazan, Khazaria, and that was a Muslim civilization. That they were from Tartaria and they were from other places. The evidence shows their ancestors were Muslims, and today they are attacking their own people. All these things of 2 million people kidnapped, the sexual abuse and everything, they're doing it to their own people. But they don't know this. They don't know their ancestors were murdered. They were murdered, yes, by the order of the Vatican and the Vatican's allies. This is the sad thing. Now, many people are not checking the history and they say, oh, it's just the number 19. There's more there that they don't understand. Yeah, if you don't understand, don't just come out with your own thing and you're going to influence somebody else, because it's serious. People are getting hurt. In wars in the past, people have died. We don't want a cycle of violence. We don't want this war to spread. As you can see, they're preparing, yes, so-called lost Jews in other places around the world, and many economic migrants from Mexico and from Latin America who are claiming they've got Jewish ancestry, from Argentina, from Brazil. It's like people are going to live there. When they go to Israel, they'll be taught biblical history, and they're going to think it's true. Now, and many people come across the Talmud. When they come across this thing is going to continue and grow bigger. And in the end, what's going to happen? Yes, we saw what happened. They saw the Jewish people as a problem. So the Russians and the Germans and the Prussians, they partitioned it many times. In the 18th century, they thought, let's deal with this thing. In the end, Yes, we saw what happened, that Polish-Stein could not survive in Eastern Europe. So they threw these settlements out. At the moment, Israel is a settlement because their dream is Eretz Israel. Yes, and the Arabs, the Turks and the Iranians, if they walk in, this matter will be settled. And these so-called heroes in the army that are, abusing people, beating them up, yeah, that's because they're dealing against civilians. If the Turks walk in tomorrow, and if they're going to say no, Turkey is under control by the New World Order, it just takes one rogue general. Yes, not rogue general, one general in Turkey who says, I'm going to stand up for these women who are being raped and sexually abused and all these people who are getting kidnapped, to arm these people over there. What will happen on that day? It's going to be bloodshed and massacres. It's going to be another world war. Yeah. Or what happens when the New World Order pretends and says, hey, Hamas sent a rocket and blew up, yes, Al-Aqsa Cathedral Mosque or Temple Mount or something, and then the Muslims will say, no, the Jews blew that up. Yes. It's not a question of is that place a special place or not. It's the point of the insult and doing it from one side to the other. It's going to lead to bloodshed. We've got to avoid this. That this history has got to get out there. This is not a joke. That people just shouting and protesting, and they don't even know the scale of the abuse or what's really going on, what the origin is, who created it, the Vatican and these people for their ambitions to create the New World Order. They destroyed Islam in Europe by creating Palestine. Now they've created Palestine through this. They're going to destroy the last place in the world where there's Islam. They destroyed the people in America. They destroyed the Germans and the Dutch people. These people were all Muslims from what the evidence that we can see. Followers of the Quran, all these Islamic manuscripts throughout Europe that they're claiming that they found in the deserts of Arabia or the deserts of the Levant. Garbage history. Many of these cities didn't exist. And somebody else turned around and said, well, David is just trying to say the Arabs were nomads. There were no settlements. I said, yes, there was settlements, but Europe was more developed. Europe had bigger settlements, more settlements. It had bigger villages, bigger towns, and there was more. It was higher populated. That it's even said that according to Ottoman records, what do you call it, Quds province, yes, or Quds country, what is today known as Palestine or Israel, that Kudus or Quds, that was the seventh populated place, not even in the top five. So it was called the Sanjak of Quds. Yes. So the thing is, the Muslims should use the original name. They're not Palestinians. They even need to tell the Arabs this. Yes, and the Palestinians this, because this is going to turn ridiculous with the fake history. Same like a guy called Jesus Christ didn't exist. His name was Esau. It's time people started using the name Esau. It's time they started doing it, or otherwise we're not going to get to the bottom of history. Yes. And people have to speak out and say what's going on. Okay, if the Old Testament is the history of what do you call it, is the history of the children of Israel, what is the name of Muhammad doing in many places there, describing the crusades and the wars between Christianity and Islam? Not in one or two places. This is in my book, Jerusalem is in Europe. This is very important. Yeah, and then there's many other issues, but that's the main thing. I've gone through it today to explain this conflict a lot more. Yes.
Thank you,
Any
David.
questions, Raphael?
Well, too many questions. I hope everyone who has more questions will, comment. It's a whole lot to take in. There's a lot of
Yeah, please no
context
negative
to be
comments or
established.
insulting comments. I've noticed some people are disturbing others. Some people have come back and sent it to me. I've turned
Yeah,
around and told people
it's the internet also. We cannot honestly really control that.
maybe
And
it's
yeah.
some fake accounts or something. Yes, but and then before you comment, please know that other people are going to read your comments, and that is going to influence how people behave. Jumping around in protests, I stand for Israel, I stand for Israel, or what's going on here? And then so people are, attacking each other. There's been hundreds of incidents between Muslims and Christians and Jews just in Europe and America in the last week or two. It's not nice. People who've got nothing to do with the conflict. Yeah. If you're having a beautiful life, then share that beautiful life to people in if you want to call it Israel or Palestine, but the real name is Quds, and Palestine is actually Polishstein. It's an invented thing, and those people that people call Jews today, they're actually the people of Shalom or Salam. They're actually Muslims. Yes, their ancestors were Muslims. Yes, what I mean by they're actually Muslims, I mean their ancestors. Yes, so the thing is, if they know this history, then the thing is, if people are nice to them and kind, and if people talk to them, and if on the other side, there's hundreds of thousands of Israelis who are nice and kind. I think people should visit each other without the hatred. I mean, there's Muslims in Europe. You can go there. You don't need a visa. Yeah, you can go there. Be nice to people. Talk to people. Explain to people and say, "Do you know this history?" People can question. Share the video. Things like this. My books. Yes, share my books. Yeah. Christmas is coming. You can give people, my books as a present. Of course, I am going to promote my books, but I've noticed when people get a book, they actually read it. Yes, compared to a video, it doesn't make you think so much. Yes. So the thing is, if we want to change the world, you've got to take action. And all these, what do you call it? I've noticed a lot of comments negative from Muslims, or maybe they're fake accounts. Yeah, trying to give Islam a bad name. Then the thing is, what do you call it? Isn't Islam supposed to be shalom or salam, a peaceful religion? And it's supposed to teach you beautiful character. Somebody put that in a comment. Isn't it supposed to make you a better person? Isn't Islam supposed to be a better way, or shalom supposed to be a better way? Yeah, people in Israel and Jewish people also have to think that this is giving them a bad name. This is just ridiculous. Yeah, of course, in England and in America, half the Jewish people, reject Israel because they know what's going on. But even in Israel, people have got to take action. The people in power are causing this. They want this to become a conflict to spread. Yes, so that eventually they'll be fighting. We don't need borders. Look at this today. Nobody in Holland cares if Holland is Greater Holland. In Israel, one day people won't care if it's Eretz Israel or Greater or not. The best thing to do is make peace with everybody, with your neighbors. Be kind, be loving to everybody. And then what do you call it? The borders would be lifted. They can have a Middle Eastern Union without the New World Order forcing it upon them. You see? Yes. So I hope, I hope this video helps people to get things better, because I don't want anybody to get hurt. This is not a question of, a few thousand Israelis have been kidnapped in 100 years, and 2 million Palestinians have been kidnapped. Yes, that just shows which side is the bad side. I'm not going to declare it. You know what I mean? I don't need to. It's a bit clear. Yes. So the thing is, we've got to stop this. Yes. You know what I mean? Yes, we've got to stop this by good actions and kind actions and communication, sharing what is true history. If anyone says this history is fake, you can go and check it yourself. I've not given any crazy websites or anything. I've shown official newspapers, official government websites, that the history that's there that you can't hide. If anyone doubts this is happening to the Palestinians in Europe and America, you can go there yourself. Yeah, instead of just shouting on the streets, instead of saying I stand for Israel or free Gaza, go and see what's happening. I don't think you'll like it if somebody does that to your sister, these sexual assaults, or if you're an adult and you got children doing it to your child. Yeah, I don't think you'll like it. So the thing is, right now, while there's still time, let's do something positive. Okay, Raphael, let's leave it at
All
that.
right. Thank you very much, David.